Part 88. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 874. There is no decisive battle between the ship girl and the deep-sea ship girl in many stories. The battlefield is often filled with dark clouds, strong winds, and rain, accompanied by lightning and thunder. As the saying goes, masters don't necessarily have to be handsome. This is just wishful thinking among you Stardo citizens. When everyone was heading towards the Dean, the blue sky was cloudless, the sun was shining warmly on them, the sea was calm, and pods of dolphins could be seen in the distance. Wisconsin was sailing on the sea, thinking about many things, and narrowed his eyes slightly. She still feels a little dazed and doesn't want to believe it. She feels like she's in another world. It is said that I am an accountant, but I do indeed do accounting work, such as bookkeeping and accounting. But instead of working as an accountant in an ordinary company in an ordinary city, I work as an accountant in a kanji branch that is considered a front line to a certain extent. In fact, accounting is just a part-time job. You still have to take action when necessary, and you know all the information and trends of the deep-sea ship girl. Since Fukumae Yamato woke up, he has been entrenched in the waters not far from the Kenmei branch. Suddenly one day, other dormant deep-sea flagships appeared in the field of vision and became active. Finally, deep-sea Musashi appeared, and the situation became more and more serious. Although they didn't move much, for everyone, the sword of Damocles, the black clouds that threaten to destroy the city, cannot be overstated. Who knows that someone will come soon and plan to attack the deep sea, which is unbelievable and even a bit ridiculous. That was a deep-sea flagship, not just one or two, but many. Among them there were countless ordinary deep-sea ship girls. It could be said to be a nation-destroying fleet. In just a few days, countless deep-sea ship girls were sunk. Of course, a lot of resources were spent on this. Now it is time for the final decisive battle, and they will never lose. At the tail of the fleet, Saratoga was complaining, once, twice, 3 times, "Why do those guys always make trouble for us?" That's right, apart from the little Lolita, among the many people in the garrison, only Princeton called the young girl Saratoga's sister, or the senior. Originally, my brother-in-law agreed to accompany me to go shopping in Chuangziu. No, it was a date. Saratoga said, "It's because of them that I had to attack." Annoyed, "I want to kill someone." "Are you two dating?" Princeton knew very well what kind of virtue he had. On the beach in the summer, Blucher refused to put on sunscreen because he wanted to accompany the little girl to build a sand castle. I learned magic and performed in front of little Lolita all day long. I didn't know that so many people wanted to see Raiders, London, Kent, etc. He is a serious lolicon, a straight man. If there is no Lolita, is it Zai, Lafite, Fantasy, or who else is it with? Saratoga looked around, eyes averting. Of course not. He took the initiative to invite me. Princeton didn't believe it, really not. Saratoga snorted, "Even if there is a little Lolita with us, it's not a big deal. They play with them, and my brother-in-law and I go on a date with us. Anyway." No matter what, Saratoga bared her teeth and became very angry. "Those guys disturbed our happy life. We must punish them and never forgive them. Especially Deep-Sea Yamato, named and criticized, repeatedly twice, several times, 3 times, she is there every time." "Punishment," Princeton said, "didn't we agree to break off all the horns on her body, then take off her clothes and take pictures? It was like this last time. Is it still like this time?" "No, it's too easy for her." Saratoga thought for a while and said, "Rabbit, do you think lifting the vaginal legs is useful for them?" "Probably not," Princeton said, "they are not men." "Why not?" Saratoga just asked, not expecting an answer at all. "It just doesn't work." Princeton didn't know how to explain. "Instead of bombing from carrier-based planes, how about hitting people with the flight deck?" Saratoga made a gesture of waving something, Bang, 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 crackle and hit them, it must be great. I seeing Dafeng holding an umbrella and not scratching it, I suddenly wanted to try it. I thought about it. Saratoga suddenly laughed and clapped her hands like this. How about a ball gag, a ball gag? What is mouth ball? Princeton is still very pure. Ball, how do you say it? Saratoga said silently, a small plastic ball with many small holes on it. To use it, you put the ball into someone else's mouth, and then tie it with a belt. Moreover, since the small ball is stuffed in the mouth, it is impossible to swallow, and the saliva will flow out over time, effectively increasing the sense of humiliation. Princeton still isn't sure. Saratoga looked Princeton up and down, thinking about wearing a bunny girl costume to seduce her brother-in-law every day. She was not happy and said, "Would you like to try it on Bunny?" "No, no, no, no." Princeton shook her head repeatedly. She knew very well that it was definitely not a good thing. Inspiration came and she couldn't stop it. Saratoga pursed her lips and said, "How about turtle shell binding?" Princeton couldn't keep up. What's a tortoise shell binding? It's not something extraordinary, it's just a kind of rope art. If you tie someone up in this way, your breasts will look very big. Saratoga shook his head in annoyance, but I don't know how to do it, but Bizai definitely knows how to do it. Right. Well, I don't know if she can, but she can draw anyway, and I saw her draw. Ball, tortoise shell binding, and wooden horses, ha 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 ha, I am a talent, I am a genius. Saratoga laughed and suddenly lost. It's a pity that I didn't bring any props. Well, I think so. I don't know if he's being too nosy, but his style of painting is almost wrong. Princeton feels like he can't keep silent. Senior Jiajia, you should play less with Beizai. You're all a bad example. Ah, sneeze. Beizai sneezed and she rubbed her nose, feeling a little strange. Someone must be saying bad things about me. Beizai sat on the ship suit and swayed his legs. Beizai thought to himself that he never did bad things, was completely harmless to humans and animals, and never bullied others, or teased others. Someone must have missed me, it must be the Admiral. Well, I miss him too, long time no see, I want to go home. If nothing else, today is the last battle. You can go back tomorrow as a ship girl, you can't live without the Admiral. It's the same for everyone. This is the setting. Bismarck thought that there was no one to supervise him in the garrison, and the Admiral lacked self-awareness. He probably wouldn't insist on exercising when he was not around. Euxian, like Lexington, only persuades people to eat, the more the better. He doesn't know how many pounds the Admiral will gain when he returns. Sister, please stop flagging. Beizai leaned on the ship's suit, let me poison the milk. Despite a somewhat sordid history, they are now sisters, and Hood strives to become a good friend of Richelieu. Even though the current results are not good, I still persevere. She sailed to Richelieu and spoke, Richelieu, you are very powerful. I see you have achieved a lot of results. Yeah, Richelieu responded. She didn't want to talk to Hood. She really didn't understand why Hood always liked to talk to her. Hood said, you hit him so hard, be careful not to blow up his chest. It's okay. Richelieu took a deep breath. Even if you can't win the MVP, you have achieved so many results. Hood asked, what does Richelieu want to ask the Admiral? Don't want anything, Richelieu said, suppressing the deep-sea ship girls is what we, as ship girls, should do. Don't you want a ring? Hood said, if you don't ask for it, he will definitely not give it to you. I remember seeing you sitting alone in the pavilion that night, watching the Admiral and Missouri leaning against the railing and chatting. With a lonely look on his face. Richelieu struggled to resist the urge to punch Hood in the face. It won't work if you can't see it at once. Reputation quickly pulled Hood, my eldest lady, you can't tease Richelieu anymore. Hood hasn't realized it yet. Prestige, what are you doing? Ziwi, he suddenly thought of a question. She asked her sister Xianghe, over the years, we have defeated many deep-sea ship girls. Cushing, Zeppelin, Missouri, etc. don't count. It seems that except for Arashi, we guard the government has never found a boat. Yes, Xianghe replied. Why? Just some luck. Ziwehe asked, should this be said to be the admiral's bad luck, or the attacking ship girl's bad luck? Xianghe's voice was faint, anyway, I'm not lucky. Ruhi shook his hands, don't you know what kind of boat you can catch this time? Sister, let's make a bet, can we catch the boat this time? Ruhi said, the bet is. Before Ziwehe could finish her words, Xianghe interrupted her, no gambling. It's a small gamble to make you happy. Ruhi coquettishly shook Xianghe's arm like a little girl. I know what you want to say. You know it again. Ruhi suddenly changed his face and said in disgust, are you that powerful? To exaggerate, it can be said that he mentioned it 8 times a day. Xianghe said, of course I am good. Forget it, if you don't want to bet, don't bet without looking at the road at all, just follow the people in front of you. Ruhi said, no bets, no bets. Sister, do you think it's possible to catch the boat this time? Xianghe said, I hope I can salvage the boat this time, the admiral keeps saying it. Ruhi said, sister is so gentle. Xianghe said, what kind of gentleness is this? Just being gentle and not accepting opposition. Ruhi clasped his hands behind his back, then who do you think my sister will fish out? Xianghe thought for a while, there are so many ship girls, how can you guess this? Although they look similar, generally deep-sea ship girls are divided into different classes and types. In fact, every deep-sea ship girl is different. They are Fubuki, Shirayuki, Flying Eagle, Falcon, or someone else. Ziwakaku said, Yamato, Musashi. What do you think, sister? It would be great if it were them. Shokaku said, Shinano would be very happy. These two are definitely not good. Ziwehe waved his hand and said to himself, before leaving the guardhouse, the admiral told me that Nagato is very reliable, and I don't know where he got his confidence. He usually always people who talk about King Kong, King Kong, King Kong. I used to send everyone out to find King Kong, so let's go with King Kong. Well, it's not that easy, a destroyer is almost enough. That perverted Lolita control, no, the young girl control, just no Feng Feng. It doesn't necessarily mean we are Japanese. Ziwehe said, it's not Japanese style, it's probably American style. Flagships such as Akagi, Hood, and Bazai are generals, and the company is handsome. She has overall control. Of course, a machine gun is placed on the front line and a division commander on the front line dare not mobilize the sentry at the door without the old man's order. This kind of thing cannot be done. I wonder how they are doing in Washington. Missouri said, they took away so many people, it's just a deep-sea kamikaze, it's nothing. The company said, the 3 deep-sea flagships, deep-sea Saring Crane Ruhi and deep-sea Daifeng, put a bit of pressure on air control. I'm looking forward to it. Missouri didn't care so much, she smiled and said, Battleship Showdown. Battleship Duel, Enterprise asked. Does Missouri have the ability to challenge deep-sea Yamato and Musashi in a one-on-one battle? Single fight, Missouri said, no problem. It doesn't matter whether it's Yamato Fukumai or Musashi. A group of us will pick one of her, or one of her will pick a group of us. The company said, you are really shameless to say such things without changing your face, Missouri. To be honest, they are no match for one-on-one king against king. Their firepower and armor are simply messed up. Missouri is still a little self-aware. Speaking of the fight, the ordinary deep-sea ship girls have almost cleaned up. The company looked around and saw dozens of people. We probably have more people than them. Missouri laughed. To deal with these monsters, there is no need to argue with them about moral principles. Let's go together. When the two were joking, the company suddenly paused and said seriously, I found them. Where? Not long after, Missouri saw Fukumai Yamato and Musashi standing in the distance, taking stances. Behind them was Fukumai Shokaku Wikaku, both of whom raised their scythes, and behind them was Fukumai Teiho, a young girl with white hair tied into twin tails and a huge steel phoenix floating behind her. Although a few people were not trembling, they looked a bit like they were trying to show off their strength. Missouri thought that it was no wonder that he couldn't hear it. Those words that resounded in people's minds when they met for the first time, ants from deep sea Musashi, lament your weakness and powerlessness, use all your strength to beg me for mercy. Because, this is the last voice you can make, and has anyone ever said, your despair is beautiful? Take your miserable lives and go to the other shore from deep sea Daifeng. Enterprise flicked the big white cap on the warhead, kill them. Looking for the lost ship girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 875. Crossfire is a proper term in naval gun shooting technology, but it is just a conventional term. According to artillery terminology, it should be called the pinch method. Battleships are equipped with many main guns. Due to the influence of wind, waves, and other factors, the impact points of each shell during salvo will not overlap, but will be dispersed relatively evenly in a certain area, which is called scattering. When the scattering area can cover all or most of the target ship, the enemy ship is enveloped within the range of its own firepower, forming a straddle. If a straddle shot is formed, it means that the range measurement is correct. Keeping the straddle shot on the target can achieve the maximum hit probability. The Prince of Wales saw the huge water columns appearing in front of and behind him, and immediately knew what he had encountered, and a feeling of uneasiness surged into his heart. Oops, thinking that the Prince of Wales was standing still, she immediately started sailing to get away from here. The black over-the-knee boots clicked on the sea as if they were on flat ground, but they were of no use. When she looked up and saw the approaching shells, she knew she couldn't avoid them, so she subconsciously raised her hand to block them. In front of the face. Boom. Not far away, she saw the Prince of Wales being shot during a counterattack, and her heart skipped a beat. It wasn't until a moment later that she saw the Prince of Wales rushing out of the smoke and seemed to have discovered her. He made a gesture to indicate that nothing was wrong. Her hanging heart finally relaxed and she turned to her goal again. This should be considered a hit. Only the Prince of Wales knew his situation clearly. The main gun on the right was completely paralyzed, all the barrels were broken, and several small naval guns were also destroyed. Which is harmless. The Prince of Wales thought to himself that the deep-sea model worker was just a joke. She was indeed the cyanotic Valkyrie of the deep sea, and the 460-centimeter triple cannon really deserved her reputation. Even though Enterprise, Akagi, and Taifeng were dedicated to seizing air superiority, other than them, others also carried fighter jets. However, the enemies include Fukumai Shokaku, Wikaku, and Fukumai Teiho. It is not that easy to gain air supremacy from them. Of course, it is impossible to seize air superiority and then intercept and bomb at the same time. Bismarck frowned when he found two deep-sea bombers rushing toward him. There is no way, the air defense of Sankai mobile phone is really a bit ugly. Leave it to us. Next to Bismarck, Z1 glanced at Z16 and patted his chest. Their mission was to escort. In addition to sonar and deep drop bombs, they were also equipped with Golden Bofors 40mm anti-aircraft machine guns. Good time compared to Bismarck, Lafitte found several deep-sea bombers flying towards her. She was not afraid at all, but looked excited and eager to try. But just after he finished speaking, Lafitte was hit. Fortunately, only a deep-sea bomber dropped the bomb. It hurt so much. You forced me to do it. I'm going to take it seriously. Let them all die. Reputation spotted a deep-sea battle cruiser and silently calculated the distance in her mind. She picked up the big gun and adjusted the angle, then fired a salvo. She didn't pay attention to what happened to the deep-sea battle cruiser in the end, because the outcome was certain. She turned around and continued sailing. The black skirt of the maid's uniform drew a beautiful circle in the air. In a sense, a real man above never looked back at the explosion. In short, he was cool and unrestrained. This exhibitionist's armor is too high. Hindenburg grinned and complained for a while. She was very sure that she had hit Fukushima Musashi, not even just 1 or 2 shots, so even if it didn't sink, it would still be destroyed. However, after the smoke cleared, Fukushima Musashi's entire hull was intact. The company controls the Hero machine, and its superior performance makes her blush. She saw a white shadow flying across the sky. Her original target, a deep-sea fighter jet, was crumbling, and soon fell down, dragging thick smoke, and fell into the sea. She subconsciously looked to the side and found that many people were only sailing towards her. One of them who kept waving was York City, which was a bit silly. She would never admit that she was her sister, nor was she her sister. Here we come. Washington held his axe high. The Enterprise discovered something was wrong. Until York City sailed to her side, she asked anxiously, "Why are there so many people missing?" "Cleveland is hit." Cleveland, the helper called by the Enterprise, although it is only a light cruiser, is a good escort. York City thought for a while and said, "There is also Kaga." She was also shot. Washington arranged for Akatsuki Raiden and 3 of them to escort them to avoid any accidents, so they went back together. It would be great if no one got into trouble. We have been working hard for this goal for so many days, otherwise we would have defeated these deep-sea ship girls, even if there were so many deep-sea flagships. The company let out a long sigh of relief. That's good, there's no problem. They were originally suppressing the deep-sea ship girls until Washington came with his men. They were the straw that broke the camel's back. All the ordinary deep-sea flagships have been sunk, and the remaining few deep-sea flagships have lost their combat effectiveness, indicating that the battle is over. Missouri took out her pocket watch and flipped it open. The protagonist of the photo on her pocket watch was also Xiaozai, 615. Finally a victory. Wichita relaxed, and her originally tall chest became more and more proud. The bald eagle Belmacan landed on Dumpling Essex's shoulder. As long as he doesn't make a sound, he is a handsome eagle. It used to be twin tails, but now it has become a shawl hair. She is a literary girl, Dei Feng, who is dominating this world, who is seducing this game. Even though the fireworks are beautiful, they have harvested so many broken souls. I hate this, the fireworks of war. I hate this game of harvesting human lives. Without black tea or ginger fish cakes, Hood always felt that something was missing. She looked up at the gorgeous sky under the setting sun at an angle of 45 degrees, although the existence of war will bring indelible disasters, but also think about it from another perspective. I think the war at this moment is just laying the foundation for peace in the next moment. Dei Feng and Huda looked at each other, and this is how friendship was born. Quincy scratched his hair. I'm hungry. Yes, I just ate a little something in the morning and haven't eaten anything until it's almost night. New Orleans comforted Quincy. I'll go back for a big meal later. Quincy clasped his hands and counted. I want red wine steak, I want apple pie, I want lion's head, and base casserole. Akin, you definitely didn't say this. New Orleans stroked his sister's long, silky hair. A rare North Carolina joke. Quincy, don't you have a New Orleans grilled chicken leg burger in front of you? Yes. Quincy hugged New Orleans and opened his mouth. New Orleans shouted, Akin, don't eat, sister. No carrier-based aircraft can break through my Iron Curtain defense. South Dakota watched as all the carrier-based aircraft were shot down. The ship-mounted Iron Phoenix had sunk to the bottom of the sea, completely losing its ability to resist. Feng, this deep-sea monkey is so small. Fukushima Shokaku and Ziwikaku were all sunk in the battle, and none of them are left to this day, so they have nothing to play with, and they didn't even get the scythe that could be used as a trophy. Ruhi let out a long sigh, feeling a little regretful. but she could also understand that she must not hold back when faced with an existence like the deep-sea flagship, otherwise anything might happen if she were not careful. "You little guys, don't get so close, or she'll attack you." Washington pushed away Lafayette and Z-31. She looked at Fukumai Musashi kneeling on the sea, his hands hanging helplessly. "Is it worth it? To help my sister? Is it really worth it to take revenge, attack our garrison, and end up like this?" Time and time again, Zeppelin really wanted to say and complain. It was just a conjecture that the deep-sea flagship attacked our garrison. Now we are taking the initiative to attack the deep sea. Fukumai Musashi didn't speak. Even though she was reduced to her current state, she was still fierce and her eyes were as sharp as swords, like a beast that chooses people to devour. Chang Chun nodded thoughtfully, raised her hands and sang, "Get up. People who don't want to be slaves." Chang Chun thought again, the most precious thing for a deep-sea ship girl is life. Every deep-sea ship girl only has one life. A deep-sea ship girl's life should be spent like this. When she recalls the past, she will not be afraid of being entrenched in the world. She would regret wasting her years in the deep sea, nor would she be ashamed of doing nothing but doing nothing. When she was dying, she could say, "My whole life and all my energy were dedicated to the most magnificent cause in the world, fight for the liberation and victory of the deep-sea ship girls." Washington said bluntly, "What a mess." Chang Chun thought she was very humorous and did not expect to receive such a comment. She looked at Washington and hummed. Chang Chun suddenly thought of something, and she shouted, "Sister Missouri, give me the pen." "What are you doing with a pen?" Missouri has the habit of carrying pens with her. She took them out and didn't know where they came from. There were several pens, water-based pens, markers, etc. "Sister Missouri, catch her." Chang Chun didn't know how to be polite and commanded Missouri. Soon after, she took a marker and drew a beard under Fukumai Musashi's nose. She put her hands on her hips and said, "Hakegeiji, you Hakegeiji." Deep-sea Musashi's eyes turned red in an instant, like flames burning. Raffi saw it and said, "She looks like she's about to explode." Explosive seed. Deep-sea Musashi's eyes returned to normal. The only possible reason is Washington and North Carolina were holding axes, standing in front of her and staring at her with big guns. Until the word appeared on his forehead, cat whiskers appeared on his face, and turtles, 5-pointed stars, 6-pointed stars, etc. Fukumai Musashi closed his eyes, and tears of grievance overflowed from the corners of his eyes, dripping down his cheeks. "On the sea?" Bismarck asked. "Bizai, what are you doing?" "Nothing." Bizai took back his pen and chuckled as he looked at the many words appearing on Fukumai Musashi's smooth and sexy thighs. The clothes were gone, and Yamato Fukumai was lying on the sea, with his head buried in the sea and his head in his hands. As long as you can't see or hear, nothing happens. The little princess dreamed of riding on her back, making scissor hands with her hands, and showed an extremely bright smile. "Yeah." Ayanami held up the camera and pressed the shutter. Click dash, the flashlight came on. "How many pictures do you want to take?" Firefly complained. She looked at Xiangxin and said, "Trump, trust, let's take one." Okay. Yan Liang couldn't refuse Firefly's request. Trust is sitting in front, Firefly is sitting behind her and holding her waist. Of course they are not Lily, they are pure and innocent, Eggplant. "I want to play too, it's my turn." The attacker was very interested. She was actually quite playful. Even if everyone is an enemy, you should show some basic respect. It is too much for you to bully others. Wisconsin crossed her arms and thought to herself until she heard Missouri say, "Hello, Wisconsin, come here quickly, don't you want to try it?" "Ha ha ha. Ah ha ha ha." Wisconsin rode on Yamato Fukumai. He endured it at first, but soon he lost all restraint. He covered his mouth with one hand and laughed wildly. She usually doesn't talk much and speaks softly. She always likes to stand in the corner with her arms folded and look like she's watching a show. Wisconsin gives people the impression of an iceberg beauty. There were many people around, and everyone was stunned for a moment when they heard Wisconsin's laughter. Wisconsin suddenly reacted, her laughter stopped abruptly, and she left Deep Sea Yamato expressionlessly, away from the crowd. Andrea squatted next to Fukumai Yamato and poked Fukumai Yamato's head with her finger. She returned to the townhouse very late and missed a lot. I heard that you always find trouble in our townhouse. You will still come back in the future, are you coming or not? Watch me blast you away. No one was sunk. Prince Eugen played a big role. She shook her head and said, when will the injustice be repaid? Lexington didn't participate, but she didn't stop it either. She just looked at everyone and smiled lightly. Perhaps it was because of the blessing in her soul that she suddenly turned in one direction and saw only a girl standing there. She recognized all the people who attacked, but there was no such girl among them. Lexington sailed over and saw that the girl had flaxen hair, blue eyes, and a face similar to his own. Especially the blue feather ornament beside her tied-up hair looked familiar. Who are you? There was still a trace of confusion in the girl's eyes. She raised her hands, looked at them, and then looked down at herself. I am Phelps, a Porter-class destroyer. Lexington naturally knew what was going on with the girl, and she asked, did you just wake up? I don't know, Phelps said. Then come with us. Lexington took the girl's hand. Saratoga discovered that her sister was missing. She hurriedly walked over, and then saw the girl in her sister's hand. She was a little confused, her fingers trembled, and her voice stuttered. Sister, who is she? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai-De-Rong Yan. Chapter 876. The battle was won, everything was over, and there was a grand banquet in the evening. Before that, a hot bath is indispensable, because it is the most effective way to eliminate fatigue. After taking a hot bath and changing clothes, the whole person will come back to life. When she returned to the Kanyang branch, she immediately went to the warehouse and found that the resources inside had been almost exhausted. She looked at the expenditure records and saw that the company was sitting in the bath. She still feels distressed. To make matters worse, if there is anyone who feels more distressed, it is Missouri sitting next to him. Enterprise, I told you in advance, less frivolous things like medals and certificates. Honors are of no use. We want dry goods and resources. Let's agree, PBJ Bomber, don't go back on your word and say you forgot. The company is unwilling to face it. Missouri, how can I say hello to you? You are a battleship and can't use carrier-based aircraft. What are you in such a hurry for? I don't even want to talk about you anymore. Do you need to work so hard for the town government? Enterprise said, hey, I'm your good friend and best friend. It's not your company. Aren't you just working for the ship girl headquarters? Missouri knows how to attack her shield with her spear. I'm your good friend and best friend, and you still want to trick me. It's just a public thing. Do you need to be so distressed, anxious, and reluctant to part with it? Enterprise stared at Missouri fiercely, slapped his face with a palm, and slid down the bathtub. The water soaked his shoulders. If I had known better, I wouldn't have introduced you to him. It's just spilled water. It was fun when you sold me, but now I know it was a mistake. Missouri refused. Don't forget the Mk16 triple 6-inch cannon, flame suppressor. You mentioned it before, but I still remember it well. Although I picked it up, it's of little use. It's not even used by destroyers. It's not very useful when used as light cruisers. In terms of functions, it's not as good as sonar, bombardiers, and anti-aircraft guns. It's just useless if it's tasteless and a pity to throw away. but it's better than nothing. Enterprise looked at Missouri and covered his ears with his hands. Missouri, what are you talking about? Say it louder, I can't hear you. Missouri shrugged her shoulders. Enterprise, no breasts, no butt, 3 cups of papaya milk and a bowl of peanuts and pig's feet every day, and a 30-minute massage every night. It's a pity that it's still so big. What is a fire at the city gate that affects the fish in the pond? This is it. Veneto was sitting alone next to her. When she heard Missouri's words, she thought of herself. She had put in so much effort and was still the same. She had a look on her face that was filled with grief and despair, and her eyes were dim and dull. Shut up! Enterprise poured water on Missouri's face. Missouri pretended to be surprised. Can't you hear, Enterprise? It's a matter of reputation, please explain it clearly to me. The company found that there were many people around it looking at it, including its own subordinates. When have I ever done such a thing? When, Missouri said, in the combat group, everyone lived in a dormitory. Enterprise snorted coldly and interrupted Missouri. Editor, keep making it up. You won't shed tears until you see the coffin, right? Missouri grinned and shouted, Hindenburg, come here. What's going on? Hindenburg's white hair was wet and sticking to his face. In the bathroom near the window, Hood stared at Daifeng's chest. Daifeng, I find you are quite promising. No, Daifeng crossed his arms to his chest, but he couldn't cover it up. In fact, she is also the kind of person who dresses to look thin and takes off her clothes to show her flesh. Haha, Hood smiled, and the nascent friendship between the two of them cooled down a bit. Click. Click. What are you doing? She had just finished washing her hair, washed off the shampoo with water, and was about to enter the big bath for a soak. Helena saw an incredible scene. She hit Lafayette on the head and reached out to take it from Lafayette's hand. Take the camera, didn't anyone teach you? You can't just take photos in the bathroom. Oh, Lafayette put his head in his hands. Helena held the camera and thought about taking a photo of everyone in the bath without clothes and showing it to the admiral. What would happen? It still doesn't work. You can't be too mean. There are not only many outsiders here, but even if they are all people from the garrison, not everyone likes the admiral and is happy with this kind of thing. There was no nose-bleeding image of Ziwihi lying on the side of the bathtub with her plump breasts squeezed against the wall of the bathtub. She said to herself, I didn't expect that it would be shipped, and it would be the Phelps number. Sister, why do you think Phelps looks so similar to Lexington? Ziwihi asked Xianghe. She was thinking that in the evening, she found Lexington picking up a girl at sea. There seemed to be a girl under the naval-bearing sailor suit. She was wearing a tight-fitting top, and her belly was quite noticeable, and she wanted to touch it. Unexpectedly, she looked very similar to Lexington. It could be said that they were carved from the same mold. The only difference was that one was young and the other was mature. Xianghe replied, I don't know. I can still understand the CV-16. Ziwihi is uneducated and has an admiral to support him. He has always comforted himself that it is virtue for a woman to have no talent. After all, she is also an aircraft carrier. Although the Essex class, anyway, the name of the ship Lexington, there's nothing wrong with saying Lexington is reincarnated. Phelps is a destroyer, and his name is wrong. I really can't figure it out. Zeppelin serves as an instructor in the academy. Although she is not responsible for cultural classes, she can be said to be knowledgeable. She knows much more than Ziwihi. The real name of CV-16 should be Cabot, just to commemorate the death of the Coral Sea. The Lexington, which was sunk in the naval battle, was renamed Lexington. Like the Essex-class Wasps, Yorktown, and Hornets, they all inherited ship names. There was mist in the bath, and Zeppelin looked up at the ceiling. If we are just talking about battleships, in order to distinguish the sister ships Lexington and Saratoga, people specially painted a black band on the chimney of the Saratoga, although even so, it is still easy to make a mistake. The Lexington is a Lexington class, and the CV-16 is an Essex class. The two of them are completely different. With the fingers of his hands clasped behind his back and raised high, Zeppelin stretched his body. The image of the ship girl comes from the history and memory of steel, and from people's expectations and imagination. Everyone thinks that CV-16 is the reincarnation of Lexington, or something else. So CV-16 is like a Lexington. However, she is an Essex class, and she is also like a dumpling Essex. Ziwihi asked impatiently, so what is the relationship between Phelps and Lexington in history? Phelps, Zeppelin thought for a while and repeated a few words. The ship girl branch prepared drinks and snacks for everyone. She took a piece of snack and took a bite. Their relationship, in history, during the Battle of the Coral Sea, when the Lexington was seriously injured and could no longer hold on, for to prevent her from falling into the hands of the enemy, it was finally handed over to the Phelps to launch a torpedo and sink her. That's it. Well, it doesn't matter much. Phelps is just responsible for dealing with lightning strikes. It's nothing special. Let's take a closer look at the last-ditch Wanyueki. She should be the one with the largest total tonnage of warships sunk in the world. It's a destroyer, and most of the poor victims are our own people. Ruhi crossed his chest with one hand and held his chin with the other, so, at most they fell in love and killed each other, but I still don't understand why Phelps looks so much like Lexington. Zeppelin frowned. Honestly, I really don't know, maybe it's a malicious coincidence from the creator. This is the only possibility. Ruhi suddenly remembered something and touched his hair. Zeppelin, you saw that headdress, the blue feather headdress. Lexington has one, CV-16 has one, Phil Phelps has one. And then from a historical perspective, CV-16's headdress is inherited from Lexington, so Phelps' headdress is a relic from Lexington. Ruhi, how is your washing? From the corner of Xianghe's eye, he saw a blonde girl sitting not far away, discussing whether it was not good for others to hear such things, and she tried to change the subject. Not yet, I still want to take a bath. Ziwihi thought that taking a bath would be great, no worse than sleeping in a kotetsu in the winter. The only problem is that the bathroom tub is only so big, even if everyone has already divided into groups. There are still many people, it seems a bit crowded. Wow! Sitting next to the window, Saratoga looked away from Ziwihi and stood up. I've finished washing. So soon, Beizai was thinking about taking a shower, eating, and having a good sleep so that he could return to the governor's mansion tomorrow. After soaking for so long, my skin is wrinkled. You can continue to soak, I'm leaving anyway. Saratoga walked out of the bath, picked up the white bath towel originally placed next to it, and walked into the dressing room. Here are the Lexington and Saratoga rooms. Lexington sat on the edge of the bed. She took out a book from under the pillow, which was brought from the town hall. She pulled out a photo from the book, and it was Sugu. His favorite photo of the Admiral is a bookmark. He usually spends more time looking at the bookmark than reading a book. Phelps, look, this is our Admiral. His name is Sugu, the best admiral in the world. Phelps took the photo and saw a man in military uniform sitting behind a desk, with his elbows on the table and his chin interlocked, with sharp eyebrows and starry eyes, and he was ordinary. Nothing. How about it? He's very handsome. Lexington thought to himself that Kirov's photography skills were really good. Phelps replied, very handsome. If you think the Admiral is so handsome now, you will definitely be disappointed when you actually see the Admiral. Lexington smiled, took out another photo from the book, and smiled sweetly. Actually, he is not that handsome anymore. This one is of a normal admiral, but he is very gentle. Phelps said, Sister Lexington likes Admiral very much. When you meet him, you will also like him. Lexington looked at Phelps, looking at the face that was similar to his own, thinking that if he and the Admiral had a daughter, this would probably be it. That couldn't be the reason. From the first moment I saw each other, I liked him very much. Really, Phelps looked at the photo. As a ship girl, she knew a lot when she woke up. Is this his admiral? Destined to be together for a lifetime. Admiral. Lexington began to say, of course everything about Sugu was good. Lexington rambled on, but she hadn't finished speaking yet. This was a very simple question. Don't talk about the admiral in such a short time. Even if it took 1 day and 1 night, 3 days and 2 nights, it wouldn't be finished in a week. Anyway, as the door was pushed open, she saw Saratoga walking in. Gaga is back. When Phelps saw Saratoga, she quickly called out, Sister Gaga. Saratoga just glanced at Phelps lightly and responded without any intimacy. She turned to her sister Lexington and asked, Sister, aren't you going to take a shower? Lexington said, just go. If you don't go, we'll have dinner later. I'm going now. Lexington walked to the window and collected the clothes hanging there. Well, sister. Phelps sat on the edge of the bed and continued to look at the photos. Saratoga walked to Lexington's side and hesitated to speak. Putting her clothes away and holding her in her arms, Lexington saw the complicated expression on her sister's face. She reached out and gently rubbed the girl's head. I'm jealous of CV-16, I'm jealous of Phelps, don't worry. Come on, Gaga, you are my sister, and only you are my biological sister, forever and ever, you are my favorite. Saratoga said, I'm not jealous, that's not what I'm talking about. Doesn't my sister know about that Phelps thing? What do you know? If it's that, I know. Lexington paused. Now everyone is a ship girl, not a battleship. Even if Xianghe and Ziwehe don't matter, what's the big deal with Phelps? Think about it, in the story, the friend is seriously injured and dies, and the protagonist chooses to end the friend in order to prevent the friend from continuing to suffer. For the friend, it is a kind of relief, but for the protagonist, it is a kind of pain. I know that a battleship is a battleship, and a ship girl is a ship girl. Saratoga thought of Ruhi and Zeppelin's words, and then she thought a lot. She said, I don't know what to say, it should be a sixth sense. Sure enough, I still care a little. I mean, if I'm not afraid of 10,000, I'm just afraid of what happens. Don't think about it, Lexington said. It'll be okay. Sister, it's true, Saratoga said. Looking at Phelps, I had a feeling something bad was going to happen. No, don't worry, Gaga, Phelps is very good and won't do anything. Don't say such things on such a happy day. Okay, that's it, don't say it anymore, let others hear what happened. Okay, I'm going to take a shower. Lexington took his clothes and left, calling to Phelps, Phelps, let's take a shower together. We haven't finished talking just now, so let me continue to tell you about the Admiral. Saratoga looked at her sister's back and puffed up her face with anger. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 877. It was night soon, but naturally there was no such grand banquet. The Kanyang branch is located on a small island, at least a day's journey from the nearest city. Even if you want to buy it, it's already too late. Just think about caviar, foie gras, bluefin tuna, top-grade wagyu beef, and lobster. Only the ingredients originally delivered by the supply ship will make do. The banquet was held in the cafeteria. Little Lolita, or little girls, are usually not allowed to drink in the guardhouse, but today's situation is special, so we don't care. Lafayette's face was red, his mouth was full of alcohol, and he was drunk. He held the neck of a red wine bottle in one hand and a large wooden wine glass in the other. Cheers. Cheers. In contrast, Chang Chun looked normal. Even though she had drunk a lot, it wasn't just beer or red wine, it was all dry liquor. There is no way, the little Momay and the northeastern female men just do whatever they want. Firefly has a knife in one hand and a fork in the other. In front of her is a large piece of steak, and beside her is Fletcher, who has an explosive figure. Where is the trust? Trust, or rather Hibiki, she was pulled away by her older siblings. Are you ready? Ayanamai held up the camera. Xiaoxiang Liden sat together in a row. Akin, that's enough. The night was already a bit cold, so it would be better to put on a coat. New Orleans only wore a white skirt, which was obviously not enough, but it was the only good piece of clothing she had. All are broken. She watched her sister eat 2 bowls of Yangzhou fried rice, 3 large pig trotters and 5 large chicken drumsticks, and now she wanted to eat them again. She couldn't bear it anymore. Quincy's hands were greasy, and her face was full of grievance. I'm hungry. How much have you eaten? New Orleans said. Are you still hungry? Washington's voice sounded next to him. I'm talking about New Orleans. If Quincy wants to eat, let them eat. It's a rare occasion. Washington touched Quincy's head. How many victories has Quincy achieved? 3, Quincy replied. She remembered clearly, 2 deep-sea destroyers and 1 deep-sea light cruiser. Washington asked New Orleans again, how many victories did New Orleans win? That New Orleans looked around. The mission of our heavy cruiser is escort. Washington smiled and drank the wine in one gulp. She already knew that there was no victory in New Orleans. Prince Eugen pushed Bismarck and said, Sister Bismarck, look at Lexington. What's wrong with her? Bismarck didn't know why. She saw Lexington and Phelps sitting together and talking. Prince Eugen said, Sister Bismarck, guess what I heard Lexington say when I just passed by them? I don't know. Bismarck was not interested. She was not gossiping at all. Prince Eugen said, I heard Lexington was telling her the same thing again. Which one? That's it, the theory of admiral supremacy. The admiral is truth, faith, beacon, and beacon. The admiral is everything. The admiral is the center of the universe. As a ship girl, you must serve the admiral wholeheartedly. You cannot resist even if the admiral harasses you. Prince Eugen said, CV-16 is the victim. Look what joke she made, and now she has become MRS-16 dumplings. CV-16 is an adult, she is like that. Prince Eugen bit his fork. Phelps is just a girl, her outlook is not mature yet. Prince Eugen said, I really want to go up and pull Phelps away and tell her that the admiral is nothing special, he is just an ordinary person, even a pervert. Bismarck warned, Prince Eugen, please leave him alone. I know, I don't care, it's not me anyway. Prince Eugen suddenly became melancholy and held his head in his hands. The eldest sister was okay, but she thought of her second sister Blucher, who would be admiral one day. Eat it? The admiral kept saying that no one should be missing, and he might suffer disaster any day. If the admiral gives the ring, should he accept it or not? York City drank Coke and thought about how many results he had achieved this time. When he returned to the garrison, he must show off in front of Bumblebee. The Hornet is still not good, she has been scrapped. As a ship girl and an aircraft carrier, she neither pays attention to training nor carrier-based aircraft technology. If any new flying movements are discovered, she only knows how to eat and play. Shinano is better, he won't question, he will just say something, with a look of admiration and admiration. For some, the battle is truly over and now all that's left is enjoyment. In fact, for some, the battle is just beginning. Wisconsin sat alone in the corner of the cafeteria. She didn't like the excitement. Why are you here alone? Missouri held a wine glass and sat across from Wisconsin. How do you say that word? Cold. Wisconsin said softly, no. How about it, is it fun to hunt the giant sea beasts? Missouri said, although I missed it in history and missed the battleship decisive battle at sea, I have a chance to do it again today. Something almost happened. Wisconsin smiled bitterly, the deep sea flagship is really amazing. Your training level is still too low. You're really rude. You Missouri raised an eyebrow. You should be called sister. Sister ships are already easy to get close to, and after spending so many days together, the relationship has become very close now. Wisconsin glanced at Missouri, and she said, "Sister, my sister Missouri, are you satisfied?" "Satisfied, satisfied," Missouri said. "Test it, my good sister Wisconsin." Here Wisconsin held the side of his face with one hand, looking at the bustle at the long table not far away, shaking his wine glass. "What we know is that, except for deep-sea Akagi and Kaga, all the deep-sea flagships entrenched in the Pacific have been sunk," Missouri said. "I still don't understand why deep-sea Akagi and Kaga didn't appear." "I don't know," Wisconsin said. "Anyway, if they come together, it will be difficult to deal with them." Missouri said, "Even if they are here, there is no problem. At least it's difficult to have a big victory like today, without anyone sinking. Don't let other people's ambitions destroy your own prestige, okay? Be realistic," Wisconsin said. "Ignore deep-sea Akagi and Kaga, they are probably in the depths of the sea," Missouri said. "Such a big victory will be difficult for a long time, at least near the East China Sea, except for some rookie deep-sea destroyers." A powerful deep-sea ship girl appears again. After all, it takes time for a deep-sea ship girl to wake up. "I can finally feel at ease." Missouri suddenly said, "Are we going back tomorrow?" "So fast?" "I would like to play more." "Then let's play more. So what is there to do here?" "2. I'm leaving tomorrow. It's been almost half a month since I left." "We can't wait to go back." Missouri glanced at Wisconsin and immediately looked away. It was time for Tukayan to see him. "We have nothing to pack, so we took it with us." "Come out with some clothes." "You need to bring more stuff. How are you packing?" "Wisconsin meal, what should I pack?" "Didn't you agree to come to our garrison to have a look?" "Lexington has already sent a telegram back. There are guests going to the garrison with him. Please ask the admiral to prepare the room in advance." Missouri opened his eyes wide and pretended to be surprised. "Of course, a telegram or something. He didn't send it. He said it just to make it difficult for people to refuse." "Haven't you always wanted to see? What does an admiral who has trained so many powerful ship girls look like?" "What else could it look like?" Wisconsin said. "3 heads and 6 arms." Missouri burst into laughter and gestured. "There is a head in the middle, a head on the left with an angry King Kong look, a head on the right with kind eyes, a fire-pointed spear in both hands, a pair of yin and yang swords in both hands, a gold brick in one hand, and a 9-dragon divine fire shield in the other." "Where are the Hot Wheels, Kinkan Circle, and Hun Tianling?" "It's not Nezha," Missouri said. "It doesn't have those things." "That's it," Wisconsin said. "If that's the case, then is he 8 feet tall and 8 feet in waist?" "Roughly the same." It turned into a fairy tale. Missouri said, "It has been planned. Take a look at our admiral, take a look at our garrison, and then take you to visit Zhuangziu. The world is so big, only that city belongs to the ship girl, except for a few people, almost all senior officials. It's a ship girl, and it has a special meaning to us ship girls." Wisconsin said, "I have been to Sichuan show." "It's changing with each passing day," Missouri said. "The Sichuan show now is not the Sichuan show a few years ago." "Oh. That weakling Hindenburg is usually the one who gets abused in the garrison." "I expect you to go to the garrison and torture you," Missouri said, "but Richelieu and Washington said that the most is practice hard in a month and make sure you defeat her. Of course, if you want to surpass your sister, you won't be able to do it in the next life." "I do not think so." "Then try and see how long it takes you to defeat my sister," Missouri said. "That's it. When you defeat my sister, when will you be allowed to leave our garrison?" "Forget it. You were so confident just now, now you have no confidence anymore." Wisconsin didn't take the challenge at all. "For so many days, we have relied on my sister to teach us so many things. So, as a younger sister, how can I beat my sister?" Disciples don't have to be inferior to their teachers, and teachers don't have to be better than their disciples. There is a priority in learning the Tao, and there is a specialization in skills, that's all. Missouri said, sisters and sisters are the same. I'm not better than you. Wisconsin suddenly sighed, as expected. Missouri waited for Wisconsin to continue. Wisconsin said, I treat my sister as my sister, but my sister doesn't treat my sister as my sister, and she has bad intentions. Missouri's expression paused. What's the bad intention? Don't ask questions knowingly. Wisconsin is not an idiot who helps count the money after being sold. It's not that I just woke up. As the Wisconsin, a powerful battleship, I have encountered countless pursuits over the years. The Admiral's twists and turns are very clear. In order to help the Admiral salvage the ship's wife has encountered many tricks. Yes, Missouri did not deny it, and it was useless to deny it. I hope Wisconsin will join our townhouse, because the sisters can be together. To be honest, I usually stay alone in the townhouse, and I see the Lexington sisters every day. I'm a little envious of the Bismarck sisters and the Prestige sisters, and I also want a sister, and I don't want to be alone. Wisconsin questioned, isn't Hood just a person? That's only one Hood-class battle cruiser. Prince of Wales. That's because she didn't meet King George V or the Duke of York. Missouri said, she was always alone, and now she regards fighting back as her younger sister. It's so unfair to say that. It's just so wrong. Missouri has the talent of an actor and can change her face at any time. She blinked her eyes and tears were about to fall. Just a moment later, she suddenly laughed. I remembered a joke. A couple took the train home. The man had 32 stops and the woman had 21 stops. The woman said, call me at the station, and then went to sleep. I don't know how long it took, but the woman was woken up and the train had passed. After several stops, the man said softly, come home with me. The woman burst into laughter, and her tears fell down. Missouri laughed so hard that she slapped the table. The woman came to the small mountain village where the man was born, and she was sold to a 50-year-old man. An old bachelor of many years. Terrible, Wisconsin said. Missouri said, of course you are a ship girl and have unparalleled power. If you want to leave, who will make it difficult for you? I know that once you go, it won't be that easy to leave. Wisconsin said, as long as you say you want to leave, all kinds of chaos will come. Lure it with benefits, move it with emotion, and enlighten it with reason. Threatening it? Just kidding. Missouri glanced at Hindenburg. He was probably drunk. He had one foot on the bench and was saying something loudly. This guy was easier to deal with. Perhaps it should be said that she is indeed my sister. She is smarter than anyone else and is not that stupid. Wisconsin doesn't speak. Don't force me. Missouri instantly became gloomy. Richelieu, Bismarck, North House, Prince of Wales, reputation, Washington, which one can you defeat? This time you really can go, and you can do it even if you don't go. Go. Threaten. Missouri laughed, it's a kidnapping. Okay, now that it's come to this, let's go and have a look. Wisconsin, of course, knew that Missouri was joking. She thought to herself that over the years, she had visited many garrison houses for various reasons, and said whether you stay or not is up to you. If it really feels good, then stay, and it's no big deal to have an admiral. If you don't have any ideas, just leave. Missouri said, with all that said, you actually plan to go from the beginning? Yes. Missouri sneered, thinking that among the many people who came to the garrison, no one could finally leave. That's it. Missouri slapped her thigh and stood up. She said, let's leave tomorrow morning, noon at the latest. You should pack your things early and take everything with you. Don't come back to pick it up later. Wisconsin said, Sister Missouri is leaving now, so utilitarian. Missouri looked not far away, there is a light cruiser Montpelier, I feel like there is a chance. Wisconsin said, I heard that my sister is not a wedding ship yet. Missouri turned. Wisconsin brushed his bangs and thought to leave it to his sister. If such a sister is unmarried, she would never want such a man to be an admiral. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai-De-Rong Yan. Chapter 878. The main contents of Murphy's Law have 4 aspects. 1. Nothing is as simple as it seems. 2. Everything will take longer than you expect. 3. Things that can go wrong will always go wrong. 4. If you are worried about something happening, it is more likely to happen. After many days, this is the garrison. In the morning, Sugu woke up from a daze. He turned his head slightly and saw that Colorado had woken up early and was leaning on the bedside reading a book. The quilt covered the infinitely beautiful area below the chest. Only the slender neck, white and smooth shoulders and the charming collarbone was exposed. Colorado, what time is it? Are you awake? Not long after Colorado woke up, she looked at the time and replied, about 7:30. Sugu closed his eyes again, I'll sleep a little longer. Call me at 8 o'clock. Admiral, it's 8 o'clock. Sugu woke up again. He didn't know why he was getting sleepier and sleepier. He responded and wanted to continue sleeping. Colorado said, don't sleep, it's 8 o'clock, you should get up. Now we have entered November, which can be said to be late autumn. The leaves of the phoenix tree in the governor's mansion had fallen clean. In fact, it was quite hot in the past few days. I don't know why it became cold overnight due to the north wind. Maybe it is better to say that it is cooler. Normally, Lexington, counterattack, and reputation take care of me, so I don't need to worry about it at all. However, they are not here, so I can only rely on myself to find the quilt from the cabinet. The step of drying the quilt is omitted. It has to be said that the magic power of the quilt is a bit strong, and it is really difficult to break free of the seal. Sugu said, I will sleep for 1 more minute. Colorado continued to flip through the book, she was reading it with great interest. She had only been in power for a short time, and she didn't know Sugu's tricks yet. Sugu counted from 60 to 1, from 0.9 to 0.1, and finally gave up. Sure enough, he still couldn't get up. Admiral, Colorado waited for a long time, but there was no movement from Sugu, so he couldn't help but call out again. Colorado said, I pulled the covers off. Sugu said, I'm so tired. What are you so tired about? Ask you, Sugu said, excessive demands. Colorado blushed and hit Sugu on the head with a book. The force was naturally very light. Sugu said, get up first. I'll be up early by the time you brush your teeth, wash your face, comb your hair and put on makeup. Okay. Colorado put down the book, reached out to brush his slightly messy and lazy hair, and sat up. She lowered her head to find her shoes, stepped on them and stood up. The curtains were thick and well drawn. Even in broad daylight, the light in the room was still a bit dark. She looked for the clothes thrown on the floor at night. After talking for a while, Sugu finally woke up, but he still didn't want to get up. He watched Colorado put on his underwear, and suddenly realized that it seemed to be a complete set. Colorado, I just realized that I was the one who was slept with. Colorado stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling mirror. Admiral, what are you talking about again? Underwear generally does not come in sets, because underwear is changed every day, but bra cannot do it. It is not good if you wash it too much, so you must wear this one specially, Sugu said. Colorado had already put on his pants and started to put on his shirt, buttoning it one by one. What a mess. Isn't it? How many black t-shirts do you have, and how many white shirts do you have? Colorado said, don't be self-righteous, many girls' underwear looks like a set. Sugu was a little disappointed. Colorado suddenly remembered that the underwear he was wearing now was bought while shopping in Chuangzhou a few days ago. West Virginia also laughed at her and bought it specially to show to the admiral. In the end, you can only fight back, and you will have one day. Maryland was impatient and said, you haven't chosen yet? I remember laughing at her at the time. I asked the admiral that day, and the admiral said there was no problem in West Virginia, but your figure was too barren. She laughed and explained. Sugu showed a true expression, I'm just saying, you'd better sleep with me. Okay, Colorado said, I slept with you, and the admiral is happy. Since you slept with me, Sugu said shamelessly, give me money. Can I give you a pillow? Colorado walked to the bed, looked down at Sugu condescendingly, paused and leaned over to give him a good morning kiss. Okay. Not good, Sugu said, you took advantage of me again. Why are there such shameless men? I regret it now. I don't regret it, I'm very happy, Colorado said. You don't play by the rules, Sugu thought to himself, why are you all so seductive? You can't go on like this. He finally got up from the bed and stretched out his hand, clothes. Colorado picked up Sugu's clothes on the armchair and threw them to him. Sugu started to get dressed, and suddenly thought of something, what's the date today? Colorado quoted a date. They'll be back soon. Sugu thought to himself that he had received a telegram from Lexington a few days ago, saying that everyone had won, no one had sunk, and they were ready to return to the garrison. I had been worried at first, but I was completely relieved. Yesterday, I discussed with Yuxian that a grand dinner must be prepared to welcome the hero back. Colorado said, it should be these 2 days. Judging from the time it took them to leave the garrison and send a telegram back to their destination, it should be these 2 days. Sugu laughed uncontrollably, then. What I mean is that everyone faced the deep-sea flagship on the front line and fought tooth and nail. What are you doing in the rear? Seducing the admiral? So think carefully about how you will face everyone's anger when the time comes. Facing what, Colorado? I'm a wedding ship. That's right, Sugu scratched his hair, you are a wedding ship. Mutsu is the one. Colorado knew what Mutsu was doing these days, which can be described as unscrupulous. He knew that the admiral was a fan of uniforms. He wore cheongsam, yukata, hanfu, and made uniform every day. Where are you progressing? One step, holding hands, kissing, and home plate. Nothing happened, Sugu said, forget about the rest. I didn't give you the ring or the home plate. What you said is too exaggerated. Colorado said, for another person, it would definitely not work without a ring, but Mutsu is a slut. Get up, eat, and then Sugu has to deal with documents. It's not difficult, but it's a bit trivial and takes some time. The tiger is no longer in the mountain, the monkey is the king, and Colorado has become an acting secretary ship by virtue of being a wedding ship. She has the ability, but she has not been responsible for anything in the town hall, and she said it was a bit difficult to get started. After finally finishing the paperwork, Sugu walked alone inside the town hall. After walking half a circle, he met Mutsu under the big banyan tree next to the lighthouse. Admiral, what a coincidence, you are here. What a coincidence. Of course it's a coincidence, of course it's an encounter. I definitely didn't see the admiral coming out, so I followed him. Mutsu stretched out his hands behind his back, lowered his head, and rubbed the ground with his toes uneasily. Admiral, really, at this time, you should pretend you don't know anything, otherwise people will be embarrassed. Keep pretending. Sugu sat on the bench, and Mutsu sat down next to him. She smiled and said, Admiral, have you been busy all morning again? Suguxiao, the admiral's job is very hard. Mutsu asked, are you tired, Admiral? Not tired at all. Sugu knew what Mutsu wanted to say. Mutsu patted his thigh and said, just tell me when you're tired. You're welcome. Admiral, come and take a rest. Mutsu's knee pillow. Need not. I don't know how to eat, Admiral, so what are you so afraid of? Mutsu left the bench and walked around in front of Sugu, only missing the dubbing Chiang Chiang Chiang. Admiral, I think my clothes look good. Beautiful. Sugu was not being perfunctory. As a ship girl, she is inherently beautiful, and there are many types of beauty, including slender, plump, petite and cute, among which Mutsu is the voluptuous and sexy one. In short, the cropped trousers paired with a thin sweater completely outlined her slim figure, which was definitely in line with his aesthetics. Mutsu lowered his head, with his bangs hanging down, and stretched out his hand to make a gesture on his chest. Would it be more beautiful if I made a slit here and turned it into an open-chested sweater? Or make a heart shape, maybe it would be more beautiful. But that way, if so, you can only wear it in the garrison. Sugu was confused. Why can I only wear it in the guardhouse? The admiral must be reluctant to go out and show Mutsu dressed like that to others. Sugu smiled, thinking that he was quite possessive. Mutsu tugged on the sweater again. I noticed it when I tried it on, but I didn't pay much attention to it. It's indeed a bit small. I should have bought a bigger one if I had known. Mutsu noticed Sugu's involuntary look, and she blinked. Admiral, do you want to touch it? I don't want to. Sugu turned around and refused righteously. It doesn't matter. If you are an admiral, it doesn't matter. Mutsu laughed. In the words of an admiral, don't suppress your desires. To be honest, it's not as good as Colorado. Sugu is no longer a boy, but a veteran. It can even be said that he has experienced many battles, and he will not blush casually and be speechless. Sugu didn't mind looking at Mutsu up and down, thinking that her temptation was actually mostly teasing. For example, before taking a shower, I told you not to peek. How could you possibly peek? He kept saying that he was wearing nothing underneath the yukata, deliberately exposing his career line, but it was absolutely just right. To be honest, if she really wants to do anything, she can't refuse her. Nowadays, she is becoming more and more scumbag. There is always a feeling that if I push her directly, she will never be rejected, but the impression score will be greatly reduced. Women are a contradictory life. Mutsu said, it's too big. What's the good of being so big? Big is good. Sugu said, Veneto heard what you said and will definitely give you a thumbs up. Mutsu emphasized, don't compare me to Veneto, she has nothing. I guarantee Veneto won't be able to beat you to death after hearing what you said. Let's not talk about Veneto. Mutsu held half of his face. Admiral, I heard it. It is said that rubbing the breasts and massaging them properly can make the breasts fuller. Sugu said, you can try it. I tried it, but it didn't work at all. Mutsu stared straight at Sugu. I think the method is wrong. What do you think, Admiral? Sugu looked at Luao. Colorado said in the morning that you were a coward. Nonsense, where is it? It's not just Colorado. Sugu thought for a moment. Even if you're Japanese, Ziwahi says you're a slut, and Akage and the reinforcements. They bully people. Admiral, you have to believe me. Mutsu is also good at changing his face. Originally aggrieved, he suddenly became charming, because I like the Admiral. If it weren't for the Admiral, Mutsu would never do this. Looks like that. Sugu remembered what he had said to Colorado in the morning. He repeated it, and then said in a funny voice, Colorado is a wedding ship, and no one can say anything. You are different. If what you did lets them know, what do you think will happen? What? Strip naked and parade with a sign, or dip into a pig cage? Mutsu said, the problem is that nothing has happened to us yet. If you keep doing this, maybe it will happen. Mutsu's index finger pointed on his lips, as if he was thinking, looking very seductive. Then he stretched out his hands and hooked Sugu's neck. It looks very interesting, Admiral, let's try it. Sugu didn't turn his head and looked at Luao quietly. Mutsu said, Admiral, is it true that a girl must take the initiative? Sugu said nothing. It is true that most of the time it is teasing, but if you don't like it, why would you do it? Mutsu looked at Sugu. She took a deep breath, her heart pounded, and she felt that this time it seemed different. Naughty hooves, naughty fox, whatever you want to call it, Mutsu closed his eyes and thought that's it. Until he let go of Sugu, Mutsu took 2 steps back and said in an indifferent tone, "It's nothing special." Sugu's eyes widened. He was a little confused and thought, "Are you serious? Now is the time. Everyone is working hard on the front lines, while someone is sneaking around in the rear." Mutsu touched his lips and chuckled, "But they can't find out. I saw it." Mutsu Kazuki. Sugu heard a familiar voice ringing in his ears, and his neck turned a little bit, as if it was rusty. He saw Lexington holding the hand of a girl who looked roughly like her. He didn't recognize him, but he didn't have time to pay attention to who it was. Also saw Saratoga, expressionless. There is also Missouri. There is also a woman similar to her next to her. She has neat short hair and looks like she is watching a play. He also saw many people. Colorado had long disliked Mutsu, so she snorted coldly, silently cursing that she deserved it. Lexington discovered that in Sugu's room, there were many clothes in the wardrobe, including a lot of underwear, many cosmetics on the dressing table, and many bath products in the bathroom. None of them were his. The smell of perfume on the bed was very clear, and the length of blonde hair was just right, and a word immediately came to mind: dove occupying the magpie's nest. That's a story for another day. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 879. The perfect wife. Lexington was reasonable and just looked at Sugu and Mutsu and smiled without having an attack on the spot. The same goes for Saratoga. In fact, she understands all the truth, and she doesn't do it just to be coquettish. This is Phelps. Lexington introduced the girl at hand to Sugu, and defeated the awakened ship girl in a decisive battle. After Lexington finished introducing him, Phelps looked at Sugu with bright eyes, which made him confused. "Hello, Admiral." Hello. After so many years, it was finally time to salvage the boat again. Sugu almost burst into tears. There's just one thing that makes people wonder: why does he look so similar to Lexington? If I didn't know Lexington and believed in Lexington, I would have thought it was her illegitimate daughter. If everyone were strangers, it must be her daughter. This is Wisconsin, but we're just guests. When Missouri said the next sentence, Sugu saw her blinking and instantly knew what she meant. It was just another Hindenburg. "Hello, are you the admiral that Sister Missouri likes?" Wisconsin looked at Sugu up and down. At first glance, it seemed quite ordinary. "It's really disturbing to suddenly visit your garrison." "You're welcome, welcome to our garrison." Sugu still knew the Wisconsin, the 4th Iowa-class ship, a super powerful battleship. Looking at her neat short hair and a charming face, her chest is a little pitiful, but her figure is tall and slim, and her long legs wrapped in black are invincible, no worse than the leg fairy Yuxian. Mutsu couldn't stand everyone's looks. "I have to leave beforehand." "If you have anything to do with Mutsu, go ahead and get busy." Lexington's words were meaningful. Walking quickly across the playground, Mutsu didn't look back. She knew that many people were looking at her now. Until she heard a shout and turned around to see Ziwahi. "You'd better do it," Ruhi said with a funny expression on his face. "Since it's Japanese, it's easy to handle." Mutsu complained, "It's too coincidental, too coincidental." "Yes, Sheena knows. Lucky one, I'm not much better, lucky three." Ruhi crossed his arms and said, "Let me think about the meaning of what you just said. You still don't know you are wrong, you don't know that this kind of thing is excessive and heartbreaking, but you blame yourself for your bad luck." Mutsu didn't know any regrets, so of course he just dared to say it in front of Ziwihi, the one who stole it was your husband. Haharu, he said, don't you think this is the end? The story takes place in the afternoon. Königsberg held the playing cards and played the cards one by one. The plane has wings, you must not be able to afford it. Then 1 2, rocket, 9, I won. Sister, your luck is so good. Colin dropped the cards and held the back of his head with both hands. He was dissatisfied for a while. He had lost 3 games in a row, and this one was even more extreme. There were only a few flower cards. Stop talking nonsense, Königsberg said. Hand out. Cologne stretched out his fist, and Königsberg curled his fingers to snap her knuckles, mercilessly. Until Königsberg let go of himself, Cologne turned to Sugu, who was standing aside. Admiral, look at me, I'm red here, can you blow it for me? Königsberg looked at her sister, thinking of the hopeless Admiral. She turned to Karlsruhe, and you, Karlsruhe, don't think it's okay to be cold-faced, Hans. Admiral, what are you doing here? Sugu turned his head and saw Leipzig. He replied, aren't we going to prepare a dinner tonight? I'm here to catch young men. Leipzig said, are you still in the mood to care about this kind of thing? Guess what I saw? What do you see? Leipzig shook his head, I didn't see anything. What I hate most is when people stop talking. Hate as much as you like. Sugu said, Leipzig, haven't you just forgotten? Last time I went to Sichuan show, I saw a beautiful ancient gold coin. I knew you liked it, so I bought it immediately and gave it to you as a gift. Leipzig scratched his hair and must admit that he was still very happy when he received the gift. The salary has been talked about for so long, but it has not been given to me yet. Didn't I give you a salary? That's pocket money, Leipzig said, I'm your ship's wife, so I have to have pocket money every month. In addition, as a warehouse manager, I also need a salary, which you didn't give me. Do you need a salary to help the governor? I used to help the family and didn't get a penny, Sugu said. Lexington secretary ship, prestige housekeeper, counterattack maid, falcon, and kitchen goddess are also warehouse managers. There are so many people, but they never asked for a salary. Leipzig raised his eyebrows and widened his eyes. Are you still embarrassed to say it? Sugu said, I don't have a salary myself. Your garrison. What's mine? Isn't it our garrison? It's better said than sung. Sugu said, then don't be a cruel administrator in the future. I'll replace you with someone who doesn't need money. Do not. Tell me, what did you see? Leipzig took a piece of snack from the table and started eating it. She suddenly laughed, and the residue of the snack kept falling off. She quickly stretched out her hand to cover it. After a while, she said, don't you know what you did? Sugu thought the matter was over, so he asked, what did I do again? Sugu remembered that Leipzig was not there at the time. How did you know? By now, who in the whole town doesn't know about it? Cologne sat on the chair and leaned on the back of the chair. She raised her hand, Admiral, I know it too. All right. I suggest a word, Leipzig said, afternoon tea. Under the lush magnolia tree. Wisconsin looked at the pavilion not far away, where the British people in the garrison had afternoon tea on weekdays. Is this a 3-chamber trial? Missouri thought for a while, then she said, it should be a public trial. Wisconsin likes to watch the fun. You still know how to play in the town hall. There was a cake stand and black tea on the stone table. Lexington picked up the teapot and poured a cup of tea for Mutsu, making an invitation gesture. Mutsu has tea. Mutsu looked around and saw Saratoga staring closely at him, Hood crossing his legs and drinking black tea. In short, most of his admiral's wedding ship came, and everyone looked at him with evil eyes. In addition, there were people who were not on the wedding ship, such as Richelieu, who was expressionless. Washington sat on the bench rail, leaning against the eaves column, with his axe beside him. Mutsu looked down at the tea placed in front of him, thinking that this cup of tea didn't taste good. Mutsu looked at Akagi pitifully, thinking, please say a word to help the sisters. However, Akagi remained silent and concentrated on eating snacks. She was looking at Xianghe and Ruhi. Xianghe lowered his head and twirled his long hair with his fingers. Ruhi turned his head. There seemed to be something in the sky, but there was obviously not a cloud or a seagull. Lexington put 2 cubes of sugar into his teacup, stirred it with a small spoon, and soon picked up the teacup and took a sip. Don't be nervous, Mutsu, we just want to get to know each other, we have no other intentions. Mutsu thought to himself, I believe there is a ghost. Helena was the first to speak. Mutsu, you can do it, you are great. Soldiers, well, everyone is working hard on the front line, and you are raping other people's wives and daughters in the back, no, stealing other people's husbands. And I said stealing is fine, everyone I knew it was inevitable, but I was caught doing it. We are such a big group, can't we see it? I think you are too absorbed. What? Mutsu muttered in a low voice, I also want to go to the front line, but you don't allow it? What are you talking about, a slow ship? Ever since everyone left the garrison, they thought they had their own world. Nelson only knew his younger sister Rodney. Rodney was an English lady, Yitzhak was the most reserved lady, and Scharnhorst was a German idiot. However, there was still one opponent, Mutsu. There is also the most fatal problem, even if you are a wedding ship, you are still no match. Finally got a chance to take revenge or something, Colorado said, I didn't go to the front line either. Mutsu looked at her and sneered. Colorado felt a little guilty, but he was a wedding ship and it didn't matter what he did. Nelson, Rodney, Maryland, West Virginia, so many of us didn't go to the front line, why are you the only one doing this kind of thing? I said give it to you every night the Admiral brings supper and tempura without using chopsticks. He has to feed the Admiral with his hands, or else he lets the Admiral feed him and then takes the opportunity to suck the Admiral's fingers. It's simply shameless. Saratoga puffed out her cheeks and raised her eyebrows. Mutsu, don't defend yourself. I remind you that you will be treated leniently if you confess, and harshly if you resist. Lexington asked, when did you start? A wise man is a man who knows the current affairs. Mutsu said, I was wrong. Saratoga asked, how far along are you? Mutsu didn't dare to be naughty, that's right, it's the one you see, only that one. Who are you lying to? Helena frowned, it has been so many days, more than half a month, and you have come to this point. When did you become such a weakling? I think so too, the Admiral is so cowardly. As a girl, you should be reserved and not be too proactive. Mutsu complained, but she suddenly reacted and said seriously, really, I won't lie to you, I swear, that's it, and only once. Saratoga stared into Mutsu's eyes and saw that Mutsu had no intention of dodge. It seemed true. She hummed and said, I found out once and thought of it 100 times. Lexington looked like a doctor. Mutsu, tell me yourself, what's going on? What else can you say? Helena said, I've already kissed you. Is there anything else that's far behind? We came back one day early and one day late to take a look. I think we have everything, eaten and wiped clean. We come back every day, a hat is given to everyone by Mutsu, and it is indispensable for everyone. The Prince of Wales said impatiently, what a mess, Mutsu, put a collar on and lock him in the room. A bowl of rice every day is enough. I'm not a dog, Mutsu said. It's doable, Ziwi said, an expert in external fighting and an expert in internal fighting, otherwise, it would be better to push it out and kill it. It's just autumn, so I want to kill it after autumn, so I can pull it to the sea and use it as a target ship to bombard. Mutsu heard everyone talking, but no one spoke for him. He thought to himself, Was he so unpopular? One thing to say, in Saratoga's eyes, apart from the little Lolita, no, even the little Lolita, the little fairy Sigsby, and Ogalani are also the key targets of surveillance. Akagi is a vixen in private, but he is still very dignified at ordinary times. The support level is just a gossip girl and has no thoughts about the admiral. There is only one person who is known as a coquettish person in the eyes of everyone in the town hall, and that is her. Until everyone's voices became quieter, Mutsu felt that this could not continue, so she raised her hands and surrendered. I said, I will say everything, please listen to my explanation. Saratoga said, it's too late for you to collude in confession. We will ask my brother-in-law later. If there are any differences, you can think about the consequences for yourself. Mutsu explained what happened in the morning. What were the causes, consequences, and context? Saratoga shrugged her shoulders. You mean, you were just doing it for fun, so you didn't do anything vile while we were away from the town hall? Mutsu wanted to nod, but he didn't even believe it himself. There is no future in confrontation. Forget about pleading not guilty and plead guilty instead. Mutsu is not an easy person to deal with. She suddenly thought of how to face the situation. Okay, I admit, I like the admiral. After all, he is such an excellent admiral. I didn't have any feelings before, only a vague feeling. Impression, now that we have reunited, I have discovered that the admiral is very handsome, gentle, speaks well, and understands everything. Ruhi lowered his head and twirled his bangs. Is that guy that good? Mutsu saw a smile on Lexington's face when she heard her speak well of the admiral, and she felt confident. Sure enough, no matter what the admiral did, the admiral would always come first in Lexington's heart. She thought about it again. Shedding tears was too artificial. She sniffed and said aggrievedly, I really don't want to, returning to the governor's house so late, 1, 2, 3 years late, missed for so long, I cannot wait any more. Are you late? Saratoga said. The lion hasn't come back yet. Mutsu thought for a while and said, you say I'm a coward, so be it. I don't want to defend myself. Yes, it's shameful for me to seduce the admiral while you're gone. But if you don't leave, I won't have a chance at all. Madam is so beautiful and gentle. Gaga is so cute and cute. She likes to bully, but if she hates someone, she is not willing to talk to her at all. The admiral actually likes you the most, Hood. Although she is a light cruiser, her figure is not inferior. For the battleship, that's nice, Helena. Richelieu is brave and handsome. And Washington. Don't say good things about us, it's useless after all. The Prince of Wales had a smile on his face. If you want to blame, blame me. I have been tempting the admiral all the time. He has always refused. He said that we are all on the front line. I can't be like this. I can't let everyone be sorry. Mutsu thought to himself that it would be unflattering and would lead to trouble. There are many ways to do it, and it doesn't matter even if it doesn't succeed. Knowing what he said today, the admiral must have a great impression of him, and that's enough. Colorado thought to himself, even though he took the initiative, he would never hesitate to take action. What is rejection? You don't have to speak for him, Helena said. Don't you know that guy's virtue yet? Mutsu continued until his mouth went dry and he drank 2 cups of tea. This is what happened. 2,000 words of self-criticism will be posted on the bulletin board of the town hall. We can't kill and eat meat, Lexington said. Mutsu said, I understand. Lexington suddenly said, then call me sister. Mutsu looked up suddenly. Saratoga yelled, sister, what are you talking about? This is already the case, what else can we do? Lexington thought to himself. Her husband was playing with children outside. What should a caring wife do? I can only help to pick him up and not make things difficult for him. Actually, Mutsu said. Lexington asked, you don't want to? Sister Lexington, Sister Saratoga, Sister Prince of Wales. It's really a question of who comes first, but Lexington is definitely the first. Mutsu didn't stop after calling out all the wedding ships. Come down, Sister Washington, Sister Richelieu, Sister Xianghe. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 880. Mutsu saved the day, lowered his posture to the lowest level, and called sister over one after another, but no one could say anything harsh. As for Sugu, the problems he needs to face are no simpler than Mutsu. He is waiting to be comforted one by one, otherwise he will explode. Colorado just doesn't care. After the dinner, that night. Isn't it okay, Admiral? The big light in the room had been turned off, but the bedside lamp was still on. Lexington sat on Sugu's body, leaned over his chest, and painted with his fingers over and over again. She moved in circles with a charming voice. Sugu was unmoved and said feebly, "How is it possible to do it 10 times or something?" "Since 10 times doesn't work." Lexington straightened up, slapped Sugu's chest hard with his palm, and made a clear sound. "You have been married for 13 years, how many times do you want to provoke before you give up?" "I've already explained the Mutsu matter. It's really none of my business." "I didn't expect that she would kiss her all of a sudden." Sugu begged for mercy, "So, can you get off of me? The Admiral is so rude, think about it, Colorado is cruel. He only knows how to use it but not maintain it." Lexington got off Sugu's body. She thought to herself that the room was full of Colorado's things. She was a wedding ship. What can I say, there will be plenty of opportunities in the future. I thought Mutsu was a coquettish person, but she wasn't much better. She used to just ask for the ring, and she was the best at taking advantage of the situation. Maintenance, Sugu bared his teeth and said, "When did I become that kind of thing?" Lexington slept next to Sugu, leaning sideways. "What do you think you are, Admiral?" Sugu said, "Madam, your style of painting is wrong." "What's wrong?" "A perfect wife, she can go to the hall and go to the kitchen. There's a lady under the bed, and on the bed." Lexington leaned into Sugu's ear and whispered, "Slut. All right, you win. It's good for the last time. Don't want." Compared to Lexington, Bismarck was much easier to deal with if she wanted to gain valuable information. Fang Xiang never sleeps in and gets up early in the morning to run. When Sugu got up the next day, she had already run several laps. "Woke up. Get up, the weather had turned cold." Sugu looked at Bismarck, who was only wearing a vest. "Aren't you cold?" Bismarck said expressionlessly, "You'll get hot after just running." Really, as he said that, Sugu opened his clothes and looked at his abdominal muscles. The originally well-defined abdominal muscles now became blurred. He started to cry out, "Suddenly I found that my abdominal muscles were gradually moving away from me." Bismarck also knew how to be jealous, and his voice was a bit resentful. "The land of gentleness is the tomb of heroes." Sugu glanced at Bismarck and said, "I admit that you haven't exercised since you left the town hall. You sleep until 8 or 8:30 every morning before getting up. But before that, I want to criticize Yuxian. Just know how to persuade me to eat, and try to make delicious food in different ways every day. Okay, don't look at me like that, I just say it casually, don't blame her, it's my fault. If you exercise more, it will definitely not change. It's like this. It's good to know. You have no restraint." Sugu stared at Bismarck, then looked away. "Sure enough, I can't do it without Bismarck by my side." Bismarck said nothing. Persian cat, Sugu shouted twice, "Bismarck is your nickname." Bismarck thought to himself, a little better than the pirate cat. Persian cat. Sugu nodded, "My beautiful and obedient companion. Didn't I say I'm a tomboy?" "When did I say that?" Sugu said, "Bismarck is a soft cat." Xian Xiang ran around again, and she saw the two of them. "Admiral, what are you doing?" In the morning, Sugu stood in front of the map in the office. His goal this time was Saratoga. Gaga. Yes, Saratoga was lying on the sofa, holding the book high in her hands. She had a bad expression and breathed out of her nose. Sugu said, "How about I give you a test?" Saratoga looked unkind. "You'd better test someone else." Sugu said, "Gia, let me ask you, where is Ajax on the map?" "I don't know." Saratoga puffed up his energy for a while before replying, "Remember, it's in the west, it seems to be the capital of Onli." "I'll make it more difficult." Sugu found an inconspicuous city on the map, Sally. "I don't know about this." Saratoga jumped off the sofa, walked to the map and searched carefully. "I found it. It's a small African country. How could I know about it?" Sugu said, "The names of battleships come from many people's names, place names, etc. For example, South Dakota's name comes from the Old World state of South Dakota in the United States. Although South Dakota no longer exists, the world map has not changed much. The Old World South Dakota is in where on the map?" Saratoga searched for a long time on the right side of the map and couldn't find it. Finally, Sugu pointed it out, "Here." Sugu smiled and asked again, "Where is Saratoga?" "Have no idea." Sugu said, "Here." Saratoga didn't see Sugu's hand. She turned to Sugu and saw Sugu's hand on her heart. Saratoga paused, bit her lip, and asked mischievously, "Where is Lexington?" Sugu saw Lexington sorting documents next to the filing cabinet. Lexington seemed to be smiling but not smiling. He took a deep breath and made a dot on the map, which was actually a mess. "Here." Lexington said funnily, "The Admiral is wrong, move a little to the left and a little further down." "That's right, I remembered it wrong." Sugu felt a little embarrassed. Lexington said, "I'm talking nonsense. Lexington's name comes from the first shot in the American Revolutionary War, the Battle of Lexington. But Lexington is not too famous as a city. It is still an old world city." "I don't think so." "No." Sugu called out, "Madam." Lexington responded. Sugu said, "I didn't call you Sister Lexington, my name is Gia." When Sugu walked out of the office, he saw Baizai. She had messy and lazy pink medium long hair. She had a pair of slippers on her feet and made a ta-da-da-da sound when she stepped on the ground. He shouted, "Baizai house." "Oh, Admiral." "It's okay." Sugu thought for a moment. Baizai didn't seem to care at all about what happened to him and Mutsu. "I met the Prince of Wales drinking red wine in a cafe." "Admiral, do you want to drink?" Sugu said, "No, you know, I don't like drinking." "Oh. If it were another way, I would like to drink it." "In what way?" In this situation, Sugu really couldn't say anything about feeding him with his mouth. Sitting in the cafeteria at noon, Sugu put the egg custard in front of Sheikh Hung. "It's specially made. Sheikh Hung can try it and see how my skills are." Akage glanced at Sugu. "Admiral, feed me." Sugu picked up the spoon and took a spoonful and brought it to Akage's mouth. Not bad. Sheikh Hung recognized Sugu's cooking skills. She was just a foodie, not a gourmet, so particular. Until he finished eating, Akage said, "This is not enough. Go downstairs." Helena found Sugu staring at her breasts. "Hey, you pervert, what are you looking at?" I discovered that Helena's breasts are indeed the biggest. Sugu pinched his chin. Helena said, "Didn't you say that last time?" "I still remember clearly that you said that in front of Des Moines, our combined strength is not enough." Sugu laughed. The little maid counterattacked and couldn't stop. After being away for so long, she finally returned to the town hall, put on a new maid outfit and started working immediately. She couldn't stop her at all. Sugu stood on the corridor with Xiaozai in his arms, watching her clean the leaves from the gutters with a broom. Since everyone left the town hall, the cleaning job of the town hall has been changed. It is obvious that the new person in charge of cleaning is not so careful and only cleans on the road and the playground. After cleaning for a while, I felt uncomfortable all over. Admiral, Master, what are you looking at me for? Looking at it, it turns out that fighting back is the cutest thing. Counterattack took a breath. Master, you don't have to please me, I'm just a little maid. Not a little maid, Sugu said, a little wife. Okay, I forgive you. Counterattack paused. No, if you want my forgiveness. She handed the broom to Sugu. I'll leave this to you. Sugu Padian let go of Xiaozai and took the broom. He hugged Xiaozai and said jokingly, Master, please work harder, or you won't be able to eat. On the stone pier outside the playground, Sugu saw the reputation. Mutsu's chaos yesterday made me very passive. In order to appease everyone, I worked hard for a long time. Lexington last night, Bismarck this morning, and then Gaga, Akage, and counterattack. Sugu looked at the reputation, but reputation is not needed, he laughed, because it is reputation. My head maid is mature, generous, and chic. She will always be by my side, a head maid that I can rely on and trust. Reputation said, Admiral, leave everything to reputation. Sugu said, actually, if possible, I would still like to have a little bit more prestige as a girl, and occasionally rely on the Admiral. It was noon, there was no sunshine. Sugu held Ruhi's hand. What did the Admiral bring me here for? Ruhi stood on the grass, not knowing why. Sugu dismissed the little loli who was playing here and said, I want to try that. What this and that? Sugu said, a trust game. Sugu remembered a picture and a game he had seen on the internet before. The girl bent over and put her hands between her legs. The boy stood in front of the girl, bent down and grabbed the girl's hand tightly. After counting the time, while the girl jumped upward, the boy also grabbed the girl's hand tightly. Then the girl turned around and just hugged the boy's neck. Finally, of course, there was a kiss, a must-have skill for showing affection. Sugu explained what should be done. Why should I play with you? Ruhi said, his expression eager to try. Sugu knew Ruhi's character, so she agreed. Ziwikaku, please bend down and bend down a little further. Put your hands through your legs. Yes, that's it. Don't be nervous, it'll be fine. I specially found grass, it's soft enough here. Are you afraid? Otherwise, just go to bed, there's no problem there. Don't be shy, let's go. My room, or your room. Arrive. Okay, ready. 1, 2, 3 jumps. My head. Stop laughing. Dare you laugh. Do it again, remember to open your legs when you turn up, otherwise you will kick me again. After trying several times, I finally succeeded. Finally, Ruhi wrapped his legs around Sugu's waist and wrapped his arms around his neck. Sugu put his hands around Ruhi's thighs. He raised his head and waited for a long time. Ruhi, continue. What continue? Sugu took a deep breath. He put down Ruhi and pressed her directly on the bed. I didn't want to do this. I kicked you, gangster. In the end, Ruhi couldn't escape Sugu's clutches. Who had sat in the gazebo enjoying afternoon tea and reading a book. Sugu sat next to him and said, I remembered reading a book before. Oh. In the book, a man says to a woman, I like you like a bear in spring. What's the meaning? Sugu thought for a while. In the spring field, you were walking alone, and a cute little bear came across from you. It said to you, Miss, hello, would you like to roll around with me? Then, we spent a whole day playing with the cubs, hugging each other and rolling down the hillside covered with clover. Who'd put down the book? I don't understand. Sugu thought that the literary girl Daifeng might like her, so he hugged Huda. I don't understand either. I think it's best to hug her. If you like her, Hug her. Hood grew shy. As the sun set, the governor's mansion was bathed in the afterglow of the clouds, and the evening breeze blew from afar. Sugu leaned on the guardrail not far from the table tennis table. Have you finished those wedding ships? Sugu turned around and saw Missouri and Wisconsin. It's over, think about who I am. What about Washington and Richelieu? Let's talk about it, Sugu said, step by step. Looking at you like this, you look very tired. Kind of. If God does evil, you can still disobey it. If you do evil yourself, you will not live. Roll. Do you want me to lend you my shoulder? Need not. Wisconsin said, Admiral Sue, my sister is so kind-hearted, but I don't appreciate it. Sugu said, I don't believe she has good intentions. Wisconsin pushed back his bangs. Has Admiral Sue ever confessed his love to a girl? No. Does Admiral Sue know? Wisconsin said, when a girl confesses her love to a boy, success is a confession, failure is a joke. Sugu looked at Missouri. Missouri shrugged, do you think it's possible? Lexington looked at Sugu from afar, as well as Missouri and Wisconsin. She thought to herself that Mutsu was not worth mentioning at all. Reputation is the most terrifying enemy, but she has no ambition at all. Missouri was a well-matched opponent and Hindenburg was useless, but Wisconsin obviously couldn't be underestimated. It's a pity that my sister Gaga and CV-16 have little combat effectiveness. But she still has Phelps, so it's her. Absolutely no problem. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 881. Sugu likes Xiaozai the most. There are many reasons why. The cutest one in the world is certainly one of them. Healing artifact. The small house element is an indispensable thing for a person. If it is missing one day, it is easy to feel depressed. Among so many people, she was the first one to meet him. If he hadn't met her in the abandoned guard mansion, he wouldn't have known what he was like now. Well, even if you don't meet her, you might still meet someone else. After all, countless people believe, and countless things have proved that the Admiral and the ship girl have a mysterious connection. No matter how far apart they are destined to reunite in the future. The final result is probably just a different person, Fletcher, Akagi, Wichita, or whoever. Also, I have been persistently searching for myself, which is touching. However, to be honest here, most of the time, her character is really a bit bad. She is skinny, lazy, and greedy. After all, she is the young version of the wormy Bazai in the governor's mansion. So, what kind of personality is the most likable? This is a few days after everyone returned to the town hall. The morning sun shines brightly through the windows and onto the terrazzo floor of the office. Listening to the sound of the waves hitting the rocks, and the long whistle of the freighter passing by the town's mansion, Sugu sat behind his desk and was writing a report. Hearing soft footsteps, he looked up and saw a girl walking into the office. With her long flaxen hair draped behind her back, a blue feather hair ornament on her forehead, bracelets on her wrists, and a pretty white dress, she looked exactly like the teenage version of Lexington. Phelps, look for Lexington, don't you? The girl looked around and saw no one. There are always many little Lolita playing in Sugu's office. Several submarines were noisily playing hide and seek and had just left not long ago. She answered hesitantly, yes, yes. She went to the library consultant. Sue, do you have anything to do with her? Yeah, it's nothing. Why don't you sit down for a while? Sugu said, she has been gone for a while and should be back soon. Yeah, Phelps responded, and she sat down on the sofa. Put your legs together, place your hands on your thighs, and sit upright. Sugu buried his head and continued to do his own thing. He looked up several times and found Phelps staring at him. He felt a little uncomfortable. Phelps, what have you been looking at me for? Are you disturbing the Admiral? Phelps showed a panicked expression. No, it's not like Bazai's painting notebooks are hidden away. He has to be careful at all times, and his heart will rise at the slightest hint of wind. Sugu doesn't care if there are people watching. Phelps suddenly whispered, I see the Admiral working hard every day, and he also needs to take a break occasionally. For a general garrison, the Admiral still has a lot of work to do. However, there are too many capable people in his own garrison. Everyone shares some of the responsibility, so they don't have to work above. All they need to do is sign and stamp. If you want, make a mascot and leave everything to everyone, no problem at all. This time, Sugu rarely boasted. He still wanted to have a little face. It's rare to be busy for a while, but it's hard to finish it in a few days. Phelps said, Sister Lexington also said that the Admiral works very hard every day. Is there any? Sugu thought of Lexington, it was all her stirring. Starting from CV-16, Sugu found that education in Lexington was a big problem. Phelps had just arrived at the governor's mansion and immediately noticed her bright eyes when she looked at him. Afterwards, I inquired from Saratoga and found that it was indeed the case. It turned out that Lexington said good things about himself in front of the girl every day. If I have to say it was hard every night, especially the night with Lexington. After Sugu paused, he became more and more dirty. It was all Bazai's fault. Admiral Phelps hesitated, you are working so hard, do you need Phelps to give you a squeeze on your shoulders? A ship girl, even if she has just woken up, already knows a lot of knowledge. Of course, different ship girls know different things. The knowledge that little Loli knows is completely incomparable with that of UG. When Phelps wakes up, he is a young girl and knows a lot. At least a shoulder squeeze can effectively eliminate fatigue, so there is still no problem. No need, someone else accepted it happily. Although it was the first time they met, a feeling of closeness arose spontaneously. In the end, they only knew Phelps for a few days, and Sue was a little angry. Leave it to Phelps. Phelps clearly saw what he was thinking. He walked behind him, put his hands on his shoulders, and squeezed. Admiral, is this strong enough? Be stronger. It was already like this. Sugu didn't act coy anymore. He had to push further. Phelps increased his strength slightly and asked, what about this? That's enough. Feeling the numbness on his shoulders, Sugu almost burst into tears. He thought of Xiaoze, and it was in vain that he was so good to her and would never take the initiative to give him a shoulder squeeze. Sometimes, after telling her a story in the evening, I asked her to step on her back, and she suddenly became impatient. On my birthday, I gave her a bunch of massage coupons as a gift. I agreed that they would last for 10 minutes, but I had to deduct several minutes each time. Phelps beat his head for a while and asked, are you feeling better, Admiral? Sugu moved his shoulders, I feel better. That's it. Phelps stopped. What should come will always come. Sugu knew this. He just hoped that this moment would be a little later. He was a little disappointed. That's it? Then give the Admiral a pat on the back now. Sugu felt the small fist punching on his back. He was speechless. After a moment, he spoke, it's great that Phelps can come to our garrison. The education in Lexington is useful to a certain extent, but more of it is due to the girl's nature. Phelps smiled shyly, I am the one. I am so lucky to be able to come to the Admiral's garrison. Without blindly criticizing himself, Sugu said, it would be great if Phelps likes it. I don't know why Lexington didn't come back after being away for so long. The girl beat her back for a long time, and Sugu enjoyed it for a long time. He felt a little embarrassed. Phelps, that's enough. Oh. Sugu suddenly remembered something. He stood up and walked to the filing cabinet. He squatted down and opened the bottom cabinet and found a paper bag. Inside is an iron box, which is actually a box of candy. The candies I bought at Sichuan show were originally intended to be given to little Lolita, but I forgot about them and just threw them there, This is for Phelps, halva. It tastes pretty good. I don't want it, Phelps refused decisively. Why, Sugu said, don't you like to eat halva? Phelps doesn't pinch the admiral's shoulders or hit his back just for rewards. Phelps put her hands behind her back, and Sugu was in a trance, feeling that an angel appeared behind her. He thought again, Phelps has just woken up. He has only been in the garrison for a few days. He has never gone out for a walk. Shuangziu must have never been there. It is a city that belongs to ship girls. It is very prosperous and lively. Tomorrow, in 2 days, will the admiral take Phelps to Sichuan show? Phelps said, it's not for rewards. Tears almost flowed out. Sugu thought of how in his garrison, except for a few people, such as Sullivan, Archerfish, Zhickson, etc., most of the people suddenly helped him get drinks and snacks. Or take the initiative to help with something, definitely want to help buy some toys or dolls, or want to go to an amusement park or zoo. There is nothing wrong with throwing away when comparing goods. Does Phelps know? Sugu became serious. As an admiral, you must gain the favor of the ship girl, otherwise the ship girl will abandon the admiral. So it is not a reward, I mainly want to gain Phelps' favor. No need to brush, Phelps said, it's already full. Sugu just looked at the girl like this, only to see her standing by the window, the sunlight falling on her body. Phelps left not long after, and by chance, Lexington came back not long after she left. Did Phelps just come? Sugu said, she came to find you. Looking for me, Lexington was a little confused. Her eyes fell through the window on Phelps's leaving figure in the distance. She also met the girl outside, but besides saying hello, the girl said nothing. Nothing was said. In the afternoon. Admiral. Walking on the road to the town hall, Sugu turned around and saw Phelps, watching the girl catch up with him. Phelps asked, where are you going, Admiral? Sugu replied, wharf, beach, walking everywhere. Ah, what a coincidence, I want to go there for a walk too, Phelps said. So, Admiral, can we go together? Okay. When he wasn't in class, Suk Bader would most likely go fishing outside the town hall. Sugu originally wanted to rub her cheek, but she met Phelps, so let's do it next time. As an admiral, it is natural for him to care about the life of the ship girl. Sugu asked curiously, how is Phelps's life in the governor's mansion? Very good. Phelps looked up at Sugu and said, Sister Yuxian is very good, Sister Lexington is very good, everyone is very good, the admiral is very good. After hearing the girl's last words, Sugu took a deep breath. It took him a while to calm down, and he laughed, Sister Lexington? Phelps, I'm telling you quietly, actually you're Lexington's sister, she doesn't think of you as a sister, but as a daughter. Ah, Phelps was a little surprised. She thought about it and asked, the Admiral and Sister Lexington are husband and wife. Is the Admiral the same? Do you regard Phelps as your daughter? Mother and daughter, Sugu didn't know why he thought of such a word. He looked at Phelps and blinked, wishing he could punch himself. He couldn't be too evil. What does Phelps want the Admiral to do? She's still my sister, Phelps said. I feel like my dad is weird. Sugu said, then it's my sister. Phelps said, no, just the Admiral and the ship's wife. The two walked out of the town hall. Sugu saw that Phelps was hesitant to speak. Does Phelps want to say something? It's nothing. Phelps smiled sweetly and whispered, I want to keep going like this with the Admiral. The night is already deep. Sugu had a midnight snack in the cafeteria. Lexington sat opposite him. Yuxian's speed is too slow, and Sirius's strength is still not enough. The Mk-16 6.6-inch gun, flame suppressor, should be Helena's. PBJ bomber, although not as good as a -2 and B-25, it is still very powerful equipment. Who will the Admiral decide to give it to? York City has asked me several times, but no matter how much she cheats, I can't give this one to her. Sugu frowned and thought about it. He wanted all of them. He really didn't know who to give it to. Now let's give it to her. It's useless, the company hasn't sent us our rewards yet. Lexington said, it will definitely take some time for her to go through various procedures. I know. Sugu thought of something and suddenly smiled. Actually, there are no rewards. To be honest, if you fish out Phelps, then everything will be worth it. Suddenly I felt a little grateful to those in the deep sea. If they hadn't come out, how could I have fished out such a cute and well-behaved Phelps? Sugu said, although it's a bit excessive, the first time I fished a boat, Lan was replaced by Phelps. How nice. Lexington asked, why does the Admiral suddenly like Phelps so much? Sugu explained what he encountered one day. Sugu thought about it, and it was obviously not like this at first. The Phelps returned to the garrison and learned her identity from Lexington. It was clear that historically, she was the destroyer that carried out lightning strikes on Lexington, but that was just history and there was no prejudice. No matter how you deduce it, I don't know why she looks so similar to Lexington. Not the young version of Lexington, even the young version of Lexington, just like Rodney, even though she is so cute, because she has not experienced so many things together, she is not treated as well as Xiaoze. All in all, there was nothing special about treating her, just normal treatment. Let's not discuss other things first. As a man, what I like most is Yuji with an explosive figure. I'm not a Loli fan, I just happen to be a fan of Lolita. Anyway, I just like cute little Lolita. Then she couldn't get up or down. I told you, Phelps is very well behaved, Lexington said. Sugu nodded, as expected, little madam. Suddenly there was a bad feeling, but he couldn't explain why. Lexington smiled, although there is no case yet, no one knows whether it will work. Admiral, let's work hard and have a child, a daughter. Must be like Phelps cute. Sugu said, don't talk about working hard or working hard. Now I shudder when I hear these two words. Lexington patted Sugu on the shoulder amusedly, it seems that I have turned into some kind of hungry wolf or tiger. That's what you are. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 882. Brother-in-law hasn't come back yet. Lexington was sitting in the office reading a book when he heard his sister Saratoga say these words. It's not a romance novel. Those romance novels written by ship girls and specifically for ship girls. The content is often that the powerful guardhouse has many ship girls, each of whom is outstanding, but the admiral still hangs around the heroine and the ship girl. I don't catch a cold. Think about it, how is that possible? Only bad dogs like to see it. It's only 3 o'clock, she said. Saratoga was sitting on the sofa with her legs crossed. There was a vase on the coffee table in front of her, with pothos growing in it, several comic books, and a candy plate filled with soft cookies. She took 2 pieces. After eating, my mouth felt a little dry, and then I poured myself a cup of black tea and drank. You didn't take me with you. Lexington put down the book and asked funnily, if he doesn't take you there, don't you know how to go? But without my brother-in-law, I might as well sleep in the governor's mansion. Saratoga felt depressed, and she thought again, why didn't my sister go? The reputation is gone, and there are still a lot of little guys. Lexington thought to himself that it would be great if there were only 3 of him, the Admiral, and Phelps. Then it would really be a family of 3, a couple with their daughter. Phelps held his own hand and walked side by side with the Admiral. Passers-by looked at him with envy. Then when he was buying something, the clerk praised him, "Sir, your wife is so beautiful. Madam, your husband is so charming." Just think about it, happiness. Saratoga straightened her hands, stretched her body, fell on the sofa, and suddenly said, "Sister, do you really trust them? Let me tell you, the way Phelps looks at his brother-in-law is wrong." "Gia, what are you talking about, that weird thing?" Saratoga said, "My sixth sense is very keen. I can feel whatever my brother-in-law does outside." "What sixth sense? Why don't I have one?" Lexington was amused. She glanced at Saratoga and picked up the book again. "I finally discovered it. You just don't like Phelps. This won't work. The Admiral won't like it. Everyone in the garrison is a sister." Saratoga did not deny it. She bit her lip. "I admit, I just don't like her. Where did the destroyer come from? She actually looks so similar to her sister. She originally tied her hair up, but now she lets it down. She always imitates. Look at my sister. It's obviously a Zibe product, a fake and shoddy product." Although Phelps didn't agree and she wasn't doing it for the reward, Sugu still took her to Chuangziu the next day and returned to the governor's mansion in the afternoon. Without him, there are not many little Lolita here, Sugu thought to himself. He walked into the office carrying large and small bags. "We are back. Brother-in-law is back." Hearing the familiar voice, Saratoga turned around and saw Sugu with a bright smile. Then Phelps followed, and his smile immediately faded. Sugu keenly noticed the change in Saratoga's expression, but he didn't pay attention. He knew very well that the situation would be fine in a few days. "It's not a big problem, the reason is just jealousy, because Lexington devotes a lot of energy to Phelps. Originally, I built my own CV-16, but this situation happened once. Gia, take a look, what gift did I bring you?" Sugu put down the things on the coffee table, found a paper bag and pulled out a scarf. He saw Saratoga's smiling face. "Actually, it's Fairpus bought you a gift. I took her shopping for clothes, and she took a liking to this scarf at first sight. It's not me, it's a gift bought by the Admiral for Sister Gaga. I don't even have any money, it's him who paid for it. At most, I just said something." Phelps waved his hands repeatedly, and she tilted her head, thinking Liao Xiang showed a sweet smile. "I saw the scarf and thought it was very beautiful. Sister Gaga is also so beautiful and cute. I thought it must match well. So, that's it? Try it." Sugu handed over the scarf and said, "If we go on now, the weather will only get colder and colder, and it will definitely not get hot anymore. The scarf is almost worn at this time. The main reason is that this scarf is not very thick. It's a silk scarf, I don't really understand it. Anyway, it's not about keeping warm, it just looks good when wrapped around it." Saratoga took the scarf, and Sugu wanted to teach her a lesson. He remembered that the girl had a rebellious character, but the final effect would most likely be counterproductive. His tone was as gentle as possible. "Look at you, you usually face Phelps has a cold face, but he doesn't care about it. He still thinks of you when he goes shopping, so treat him better in the future." Saratoga still didn't look good. "I know." Phelps shook her head at this time and said, "Admiral, don't say that about Sister Gaga, she has always been very good to me." Saratoga looked at Phelps with a sincere face, as if he was not trying to be a good girl, and felt that she was going too far. She hesitated for a moment, lowered her head. "Thank you, Phelps. That would be nice, let's be more harmonious." Sugu thought to himself that ship girls are living people and have their own tempers. As an admiral, it is a very important duty to mediate the conflicts between ship girls. He took out another flower head and twisted the needle with his fingers. "Lexington, this is for you," or Phelps chose it. Lexington doesn't look like Saratoga. She smiled. "Thank you, Phelps, it's beautiful." Sugu finally took out a tie, gestured it on his chest, and said with a smile, "Lexington, look at Phelps's eyes, what do you think of this tie?" Lexington looked at Sugu's smiling face. then looked at Phelps, and she thought to herself, as expected of Phelps, he really knows how to be a good person. Friendship first, competition second, does not mean there is no competition. There is only one admiral, but there are so many wedding ships, palace fights, etc., there must still be more or less, within a limited range of course. However, as a ship girl, she is the embodiment of truth, goodness, and beauty, so she cannot do bad slander or frame up. Whoever controls the small house controls the admiral. This is something everyone in the town knows. Just like Bismarck, he doesn't know how to act coquettishly or cling to others, he can only teach others. I don't even know how to show the feminine side of a woman. If it weren't for Prince Eugen's help, a set of shirts and trousers would be enough from beginning to end. There would be absolutely no dress. Anyway, she is a tomboy, however, as a small house, she is the most I like Sister Meow. As long as you are willing, it is easy to control the admiral. Holding the small house and sitting anywhere in the governor's mansion, it usually doesn't take long for the admiral to come over. Xiaozai, you are like this, oh, Bismarck is also here. You can have as many dates as you want. If necessary, you only need to say this through Xiaozai's mouth, Admiral, tomorrow I'm going shopping with Sister Meow in Chuangziu. Do you want to come? Except when there is really something going on, 9 times out of 10, you will get the answer, if there is nothing going on, I'll just go. Lexington remembered the first time he saw Phelps on the sea. At that time, he didn't have so many thoughts. When he saw the girl's soft look, he only felt pity. How much he looked like himself when he was young, well, he didn't look like he was when he was young. When he woke up, he was already what he looked like now. I had grown up once before, but it was not as big as others, such as Xiaoxiang Liden, who changed from a Lolita to a girl. The Admiral is heaven, earth, and everything. I like the Admiral the most. When there are only 2 of us, it doesn't matter how much we complain about the bad Admiral or the pervert Admiral, but when introduced to others, the Admiral is the best Admiral in the world. Don't ask, just ask, he is handsome, versatile, upright, and kind. Having such a person as an Admiral is a blessing that has been cultivated in 8 lifetimes. I don't know when it started, but I realized how well behaved the girl was, not like her naughty sister Saratoga, or like the CV-16 Iceberg Beauty, and suddenly I had the idea that she might be able to challenge Xiaozai's position in the Admiral's mind. From then on, he was like Bismarck, possessing the anti-admiral noble phantasm. Soon after returning to the town hall, the Admiral seemed not to like Phelps, but it didn't matter, he just didn't know Phelps yet. Sure enough, in just a few days, he quickly succumbed to Phelps's obedience. It seemed that it wasn't long before the day when he would dominate the Admiral. Comparing people with each other has to be done, and comparing goods with others has to be thrown away. Phelps is still a good boy. I have decided that she will be my caring little cotton-padded jacket. So it's not Xiaozai? Why did it become Phelps again? There's nothing wrong with you, 2 caring little cotton-padded jackets. Admiral, how come your room is so clean? Who is here, reputation or counterattack? I told you that I will be in charge of the Admiral's room. It's not them, Phelps is here. She is really well behaved. What were you doing just now? What are you looking at? We didn't do anything. What should I say? I was sitting alone on the bench. Although it didn't mean anything, it was possible that in Phelps's eyes, I looked a little wrong. Anyway, she asked me. I asked if I felt uncomfortable, but she still felt uneasy and reached out to touch my forehead to see if it was hot. She still couldn't tell that something was wrong, so she insisted that I lower my head and touch my forehead with her own. So, where did you go? And it wasn't the kiss. In the cafeteria in the evening. Admiral, will you eat alone today? Humsugu looked up and saw Phelps and thought he didn't know where to sit. He might as well sit alone and wait for others to come over. Phelps sat down opposite Sugu. In the afternoon, I saw the Admiral sitting alone on the steps outside the governor's mansion. Does the Admiral like the sea very much? It is okay. Why? You ask why? The lone sail is far away in the blue sky, and all I can see is the Yangtze River flowing in the sky. No, there are times when riding the wind and waves, hanging sails directly across the sea. It doesn't seem very appropriate. No, I really can't think of any reason. Yes, Sugu suddenly laughed. That's it, the sea is so big, the sea is so blue, the sea is all water. It's so funny what the Admiral said. Phelps chuckled. She was not very good at using chopsticks yet. She took a fork and put a piece of bacon into her mouth. I also like the sea. This time it was Sugu's turn. He asked, why? Because the Admiral likes it. Sugu took a deep breath. Why was his heart beating so hard? No, I was joking. That's not the reason. After Phelps finished speaking, he whispered something again so that Sugu couldn't hear it. Finally, he said, as a ship girl and a battleship spirit, there is no one who doesn't like the sea. Bar. That's true. Phelps suddenly asked, does the Admiral like to eat meat? I like it. I'm a meat-free person, so it doesn't matter if I eat meat all day long. Sugu thought to himself, thanks to the various vegetables prepared by Yuxian every day, especially when they are so delicious that people can't refuse. Of course, you will never touch bitter melon or celery. Also thanks to Bismarck, if she hadn't insisted on exercising every day, I wouldn't know how much I weigh now. I don't like meat, Phelps said. Admiral, please eat it for me. I don't believe there are people who don't like eating meat. Sugu thought to himself that he could eat as much meat as he wanted. No, it doesn't seem to be the case. Even if you are an admiral, or because you are an admiral, you have a limit on how much meat you can eat every day. Eating too much is unhealthy. Phelps, there is no need for this. Why this and that? Phelps said. Phelps really doesn't like eating meat. Phelps, let me tell you, there was no garrison before, and I was still studying at the Sichuan-Jiu Naval Academy. Anyway, I, Xiaozai, Lexington, and Jia and a few others are together. What do you like to eat? Lexington, she doesn't like to eat anything, just meat. Later, she found out that she quite likes it. Sugu thought of Akagya. The guy was so unscrupulous that he even snatched his own meat. Phelps, you and Lexington are really good friends. Not only do they look similar, they also have similar personalities. Phelps said, Sister Lexington is a madam, and they all call me Little Madam. Sugu only saw Phelps's face, which seemed a little distressed. He thought to himself that apart from her extraordinary life, Ship Girl was just an ordinary person in terms of personality. Sometimes she was a gossip and liked to give people nicknames. Usually, as long as it's not too much or the person being called is unwilling, I usually don't care. I ask them to stop calling. Let me start by saying that I don't hate the Admiral. The Admiral is so outstanding. It must be a lucky thing to be the Admiral's wife or bride. Phelps whispered, Little Lexington, little lady, I am Phelps, just be Phelps and don't want to be anyone else. Sugu suddenly thought of something. CV-16 didn't mind being called MRS Dumpling, and Saratoga didn't mind being called sister-in-law. Phelps was the only one who minded. What the heck, he didn't want to be Lexington's vassal. The Admiral is here so early. Lexington sat down next to Sugu with a dinner plate. She heard the conversation between the two people. Then the three chatted, and then Saratoga came again. I'm done eating, let's go first. Phelps stood up soon after and put away the dishes. Consultant Su, that's all you eat? I'm still young. Sugu looked at Saratoga and said funnily, look at you, you are a loser. Saratoga gave him a punch. Lexington watched Phelps's retreating back, watching her walk out of the cafeteria and disappear into the darkness. She thought to herself, everything became uncontrollable. When did it start? Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai-De-Rong Yan. Chapter 883. Sugu was not a fool. If he were to brag about himself, he could be considered smart. Of course, he couldn't be called a genius. Every time I talk to people about those students who play games every day or read novels in class, and whose grades are still far ahead, they get very angry. Why, God is so unfair. Girls' thoughts were not very clear before. I really didn't understand anything in junior high school. High school is busy saving Azeroth, working to destroy the Burning Legion, or fighting for Azeroth. It is no problem to start with a Death Knight and Spider on a medium difficulty level, and forget about the difficulty. Finally, as a science and engineering student in college, the number of girls in my class made me cry. It was all because of the big boss in the dormitory next door, and thanks to Quabo, there was no such thing as 3 years in the army, a Sao competing against Diao Chan. Therefore, he keenly noticed something was wrong with Lexington's performance these days. At night, Sugu was leaning on the bedside reading a magazine. He put down the magazine and turned around to see Lexington in a gauze nightgown. He finally couldn't help but ask, "My wife, why have you been acting weird these past 2 days? The Prince of Wales the day before yesterday, Helena yesterday, it was her turn." She had just taken a shower, her long flaxen hair was slightly damp. Lexington was sitting by the window, combing her long hair, waiting for the wind to dry her hair so she could sleep. When she heard Sugu's words, her voice paused, and she reacted after a moment, "Why am I acting weird?" From beginning to end, Lexington didn't change. He was very good to himself, but even better. Sugu thought for a while and said, "You've been too good to me in the past 2 days." Lexington was funny, "I'm not willing to be nice to you anymore. I have to have a bad temper and a straight face, okay? Be nice to me, of course I am willing, but being nice is a bit too deliberate. Have it?" Sugu thought for a moment and said, "I remember that you usually only pinch my shoulders when I'm tired, but this morning everything was fine and you insisted on pinching my shoulders. In the office and in my room, it's usually fine. I help organize it every few days, and you helped me organize it yesterday and today." Lexington was distracted, thinking he hadn't noticed that much. "Does Lexington want something?" Sugu said. "PBJ bomber is ready for you." "The PBJ bomber only has a bombing value of 15 points," Lexington said. "What's so great about that?" "It's not as good as the B-25 and a -2. A -2 is better, the Raider is easy to talk to. The B-25 is in the hands of the Hornet, and you know her. It's really hard to steal her B-25 again." Sugu still has a conscience. "I don't care about carrier-based aircraft," Lexington said. "Did I make a mistake and break something?" Sugu said. "I think of a group of little Lolita, in the past. I don't know what I was thinking, but on a whim, we stood on the swing together, and finally broke the swing. Then they beat me on the back again, brought me drinks, and made me midnight snacks, although they were salty and burnt. I'm not a child." Lexington gave Sugu a cute look. "She also knew one thing, speaking of which, it's salty and burnt, and you ate so much. This is my first time eating xiaozai. It should not only be xiaozai, but also Lafite, Fantasy, U-47, U-505, Firefly, etc. They make midnight snacks." Sugu thought to himself that if it wasn't too unpalatable, he decided to eat them all. Finished. There must be a reason. Sugu got off the bed and walked to Lexington's side. "I am your husband, sir, and admiral. What is there to say?" Lexington hesitated for a moment. It was better to be frank than to scheming. No man doesn't like a woman to be jealous of him. She decided to speak. "Admiral likes Phelps." "I like it. I've said it several times, Sugu said. Among the adults, there are you, Yuxian, Fuzang, and counterattack. I can't even count them. There are too many of them. But among those little Lolita among girls, one is tougher than the other, and there are really few who are more obedient and sensible. Phelps is so well behaved. Sugu thought that his young wife Bai Shui could compare with Phelps, but Bai Shui was distracted by her sister Fubuki, so Phelps won in the end. Phelps is a little girl, Lexington said. What? Phelps is definitely a girl. Sugu gestured on his chest to show how tall Phelps was. She is already so tall. He lowered his hand again. A little more, for a little girl or a Lolita, this height is enough, and it can't be any higher. Admiral, let me ask you a question, Lexington said. Is Changchun a little Lolita or a girl? Girl. Ayanamai. Girl. Archerfish. I can't say, I guess it's somewhere in between. Speed. Little girl, Sugu thought to himself. He liked holding her with one hand and Suk Bader with the other. It felt great and fun. Lexington asked again, what about Veneto? Sugu said, 381mm guns. Sugu asked first, Lexington, what exactly do you want to say? Lexington lowered his head and then raised his head, hesitated for a long time and said, what I mean is that the Admiral cannot attack her or Phelps. What a mess. Although she is a girl, Phelps is still so young, Sugu said, how could I possibly attack her? Really not. Sugu finally realized that he had been very close to Phelps in the past 2 days. He asked, are you jealous? Yes. Lexington held the side of his face with his left hand, looking at the quiet sea under the moonlight outside the governor's mansion. She thought to herself that she had heard it from her sister Saratoga, but she didn't care at all at the time, but now it has come true. For so long, I actually felt a crisis in a girl. We have sunk ourselves in history. Will history repeat itself now? Sure enough, she shouldn't have said so many good things about the Admiral in front of Phelps, which caused her to have such a favorable impression of the Admiral. Now this is considered a cocoon. In fact, her character is like that. Even if she doesn't say good things about the Admiral, she still behaves like that. Maybe it's okay to say bad things, but you can never say bad things about the Admiral. Even if one day she is allowed to reach the top of Davao, it doesn't matter if she is relegated to the sidelines. Sugu still knew that Lexington was very persistent about the secretaryship and the position in his heart. He took a deep breath and gently hugged her. My wife, how should I say good to you? Phelps is just a girl, and she just joined the garrison. And what about you? Your figure simply crushes her in all aspects. We have lived together for so long, how many feelings have we not counted? Yes, the Admiral is a pervert and a vulgar person who likes girls with plump figures. Phelps' figure has nothing to offer, except for his cute belly. Lexington nodded weakly, and she thought again, no, Hood and Ziwihi, they have no figure at all. Sugu thought to himself that there was no need to hide or cover up what he liked. He did not refute, he just reminded, Hood and Ruhi, you should talk about it in private, don't say it in front of them. Of course I know, Lexington said. Hit someone without slapping someone in the face, and expose someone without exposing their shortcomings. Sugu felt a little pity for the two people, and then he became serious. Really, there is nothing against your will. You said daughter, and I also regard Phelps as my daughter. Let me tell you, instead of worrying about Phelps, madam, you have that it's better to worry about other people mentally. No idea? You can believe anything, but you can't believe anything a man says, but that's all he can do for the time being. Lexington smiled and asked, for example. Don't ask me, I don't know. Sugu glanced at Lexington, curled his head and lips, thinking that he looked gentle, virtuous, and generous, but in fact there were many scheming and Yandere characters. Washington, Lexington said, the last time I saw her wearing an evening dress, it was the blue one. She was really beautiful. The admiral must like it very much. Sugu said nothing. Lexington said, or is it Feli? What the hell, Feli, you don't want a black man. Sugu laughed, that kind of body is a safe delivery type and easy to give birth to. As he grew up, his butt became so big. He thought about Lexington's fight. Seriously, Admiral, it's time for you to marry Sister Richelieu. It's been more than 2 years since she returned to the garrison. You already know what other people think. And she beat you last time. Don't you know why? I know, in fact, you also have ideas, but you are just cowardly. I say, you are a man and you have to be responsible. Be more proactive. Something flashed in her mind, and Lexington caught it. She started counting on her fingers. Xianghe, although she rejected you before, she actually really wants to like you. The younger sister has a ring, but as an older sister, she doesn't. It's okay for the two sisters to live separately, but they live together. The younger sister disappears every night from time to time. It's very clear what she did. Maybe she was hiding on the quilt alone at night, or she was sitting on her knees in the room looking at the moon and crying, blaming herself for being too pretentious at that time. And the leg fairy Yuxian, do you think people don't know that you stare at other people's thighs every day? Why don't you, a lady with such a conservative and shy personality, cover up your high-cut cheongsam to feast your eyes on every day? There is only one reason. I like you. I grow so many vegetables and raise so many chickens. Except for cheating in Changchun and eating a little, they are all prepared for you. You are soft-spoken and use other people's tricks. You are good, you don't show any signs. It's been almost 2 years since Missouri joined the garrison. I see you talking together every day, and I feel jealous. Are you really that good at talking? Let alone friends, are there real friends between men and women? So Missouri? Beautiful, don't talk about your thoughts. Then think about how she was at the beginning. She was very talkative, and it was a dream to touch her, but what is her behavior now? How many things has she done for the town hall and for you? Fort Deng, C-301 missiles, Wisconsin, and many more. Her contribution to the garrison is really huge, and she is not even a wedding ship. How pitiful. By the way, Fletcher, although the main reason is that she doesn't like to wear clothes in the room, except for Sullivan, who is quite well behaved, the idiot Thatcher has no intention of cheating on her, and the little devil Sigsby deliberately cheats on her. Anyway, I've seen it several times. Fletcher doesn't wear clothes. Does he really not want to be responsible? She is not young anymore, no matter how you look at it. Stop it, stop it. Sugu heard something was wrong. Why did a strange person sneak in? Lexington, just forget about the others. What happened to Fletcher? Lexington winked and said cutely, Fletcher is fine. Big question. What did she say? Lexington stared into Sugu's eyes. You really have no idea at all. Sugu's eyes dodged, looking around. By the way, I haven't told you yet, Lexington said. Mutsu has already called me sister, and I drank her tea. Consultant Su, what do you mean? You two kissed each other, Lexington said. You're not going to pretend that nothing happened, are you? Sugu rubbed his forehead, feeling a little distressed. Anyway, my opinion is, marry everyone first, and then marry Mutsu. Lexington suddenly remembered something. Just a reminder, CV-16 is MRS-16. Why is CV-16 here too? What have you done since you found out that CV-16 likes detective novels and small animals? Sugu was silent. How can you forget Kent? Lexington said. Why do you bully others every day? Do you really not like it? Sugu was about to speak but stopped. I'm sorry, Admiral, but leave everything to Lexington. Sugu said, why did you suddenly become a pimp? Where can I find a wife who is embarrassed by her husband and takes the initiative to persuade her husband to take a concubine? Lexington nodded to himself, the only one is me. She thought to herself, coming one by one, so many people are enough to distract the admiral, but does this count as drinking poison to quench his thirst? It doesn't matter, as long as it's not Phelps. Betrayal is more hateful than anything else. Except for Missouri, which is a bit stressful, everyone else is just a piece of cake. Anyway, it was agreed that it would be at least 1 day a week. Sugu didn't know what to say, and his tone was a little helpless. He said, "Yes, only you." "Okay. Good." Lexington hugged Sugu and bit his ear. "Admiral, it's night." "Admiral," Lexington breathed, "do you like wedding dresses, maids, nurses, nuns, dancers, or what?" Sugu was unmoved. "Brother-in-law," Lexington's voice suddenly became playful, "brother-in-law is a big idiot." Lexington's voice was so lifelike that you couldn't tell the difference at all. They were indeed sisters. In short, Sugu suddenly lost his ability to resist. Lexington held Sugu's waist with both hands and put his head on his chest. He thought to himself, yes, Phelps is no big deal. Compared with his own inherent shortcomings, and his daughter also has an Electra plot, in fact, she may not be. If you have any ideas, you will be confused if you just care about them. Just scare yourself.